Okay, it's me. All right. Sorry, I get comfortable, guys. Get rid of the screen. There we go. Whew. Well, that's actually about a lot better. I didn't open the whole screen on the laptop. It's just those little windows. But now the screensaver and background for the other is flash. Oh, that's annoying. Can't win for nothing. Um, wow. Sorry, it's been a while. But getting online here and saying hi to everybody and giving an update was kind of on the to-do list. It's been on the to-do list every day for quite some time now, but I've got, I guess, what we'll call the case of the why should I's. It's been around for a while now. It's basically like you're on a mental health medicine and you're feeling better, but you still have times where you get stuck. I call that the why should I, because what's actually happening in the brain is it's not detaching the way it does with actual depression, we'll say, but it's leaning towards it. See, we're always in kind of like the more why should I, because it's questioning. That's what it is. Instead of just straight out detaching, it's questioning. We don't just look at something and go, never mind, no. We look at it and we question it. We think about how important it is to work on it, to do it, like the laundry or the dishes, things like that. Um, but then a lot of times we add more to the list, like which one now goes priority wise. Should I do the dishes or should I do the laundry first? Because the kids will need clean clothes, but of course we do need to eat later on too. We'll need clean dishes for that. Oh, and I know it sounds stupid because I know some people watch that video, listen to that, and they're like, just do them both. Just do it. Just go for it. Just move. Don't think about it. Just do it. Well, that would be wonderful. And in a more normal type situation with the brain, you can do kind of things like that. And we do have times like that. We all do. But it's not you. Again, here we go. It's not you doing it. It's your brain doing it. I actually have an example of that. Um, I went. Sorry, it's a little rough for me. I don't do well in social situations because I always want to say that and do things and act certain ways that are not acceptable. They're just not. You don't go to a funeral and start questioning people on the person who passed away's life and say, well, when did this person pass away in their life? When did this happen? When did that happen? And would you say that they were affected in this way or that way after that particular incident happened? You don't do that. So I took my rosary with me and I sat there and I prayed. Kept my mind busy one way or another. Also because I wanted to pray for her. Anyway, so like I was saying, I went to a funeral over the weekend. Growing up, when we were teenagers, it was my friend Terry actually who introduced me to Rachel. Terry was what we call the G type people. The I guess they were like gangster. I don't know. They listened to the rap music and they dressed in the Nike and they, all that stuff. Um, and that's what she was. But in high school, I was the goth girl, all dressed in black, hunky, uh, dark vampire, all that stuff. Well, uh, Terry, for as much as a lot of people kind of stay in their own cliques, a lot of times they wouldn't mix. Terry did. She was friends with anybody and everybody, didn't matter. And so through her, I met this girl, Rachel. I never really cared for Rachel. I mean, I look back on it now. I almost want to say she was trying too hard back then. I can see it now. I didn't know back then. I just thought she was kind of a poser or just like trying to be everybody's friend, but really not. Like Like, I was left with the feeling of like she would be a backstabber easily, that she would be the type to, you know, use you and then take off. She I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but I'm just trying to be honest about the fact that, you know, sometimes we meet people and we get a certain feeling about them. It's just kind of very underhanded and deceptive and things like that. But the funny thing is, now that I know her a little bit better, I know why I got that feeling. And I know why it happens. Because she wasn't really being true to herself. That makes sense, right? Somebody's acting kind of deceptive, and so you think, you know, something's not right with you. Well, that's true. Something wasn't right with her. You have to almost think about it. Like years ago when she was a kid, somebody looked at her and she said, well, I just would like to be quiet and I just want to sit here and draw quietly. And someone said, no, you need to be a part of things. Go to run out there and play, or vice versa. I want to go out and play. I want to talk to people. I want to socialize. No. Shh, strangers are dangerous. No, shh, shh, shh. No, relax, calm down, you know. And so then you have to, you know, to appease these people around you that usually are parents and, you know, aunts, uncles, whatever. You have to change who you are to appease them. And in doing so, of course, that makes sense to your brain to some degree because, you know, these people feed you, they clothe you, they love you, they take care of you. So making them happy and doing what they're telling you to do makes sense. I mean, they're the adults, they're the trusted people in your life. You're supposed to do whatever they tell you to do. Obey mother and father, you know, all that. So, yeah, you do it, even though it doesn't actually make sense. And the problem is that, you know, your brain gets used to doing things that way and it gets stuck doing things that way. All the while knowing in the very, very back of the mind will say, this isn't the real me. When can I be the real me? Why can't I? Why can't I speak? Why can't I go out? Why can't I just stay here and be quiet? Why can't I just sit here and draw? All the while, that's going on in the back of the mind. All the front and the forefront will say is all the just whatever people told you to do and be. You're doing it. You're being it. Whatever. All the while in the back of the mind, the brain is going, well, wait a minute. Why? And whereas you would think, well, as long as it stays back there, no problem. Well, that's not necessarily true. There's something called hiccups that happen because the brain knows it's not operating the way that it's supposed to. Bottom line. So you'll see little things about that person's behavior, character that aren't quite right, or that are not right. Like somebody trying too hard. It's kind of like a very anxious feeling. And as I've said before, one of the don't mess with the wires, Jerry. Benji's end scale is set up in this room now. And everybody wants to mess with the wires. We have to work on that. Anyway, what was that? People that have anxiety like that, excuse me, it's searching. That's what it is. That's why you feel like when you get around people like that and you're like, I just don't know how to take you. I don't know how to trust you. Like you really are like this nice person. You smile at me and I feel like there's a genuineness to your smile, but at the same time I feel like you would like stab me in the back the moment I turn around. What? Well, a lot of times that's why that's actually happening. It's not because that person truly is that way. They would possibly do that then. They would possibly stab you in the back when you turn around if it works to their advantage somehow. Because now that the brain is searching, Jerry, I mean it. We're working on it. Hey, I got him to get out of the Christmas tree. He stayed out of it. I told him no, and he stayed down. One time he had to screw up, where I caught him in the tree. Other than that, he just look at it. It's pretty, and he walk away. That's why I trained you, boy. Anyway, sorry. The funny thing is that when that person would do something like stab someone in the back, even though they did it for a reason, they needed to for some reason. I can't give you examples. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Just they still. I don't want to say they still feel badly because that's speaking way too broadly about everyone, and that's not how it works. I'm thinking more in particular about this girl. She would feel badly. Can't show it, but she would have. Now that I know the things that I know about her, yeah. And those deceptive feelings were mostly just the anxiety that was running around in her own head, trying to figure out when I'm allowed to really be the real me. All the while, the brain's still saying, no, this is what makes sense. This is what makes sense. This is how we've survived. It's like people that go through a trauma, and because of that, they've now have certain behaviors and characteristics about them that are not very good. You know, and people look at them and say, "Well, you've got to change that." But it helped them survive. It helped them get through that trauma. It helped them. So it's not easy to just walk away from something like that. Your brain says, "No, this made sense." And in order to change something, here we go, change, then the change has to make better sense and more sense than the original. The new fact has to be a better fact, make more sense, be a better fact to replace the old fact. And the problem with that is that a lot of times we almost need the crystal ball to see that change before we actually make that change to be able to say, oh, that change would be okay. It would make sense. Yeah, it can get that way. That's why some people cannot change. Even when you sit there and explain it to them, what it would be like. No, seeing is believing. Sometimes you can talk someone through a change and say, well, this is what it would look like. Here's how this piece of furniture would go here, and this furniture would go there, things like that. But until they can actually see the change done before they've actually done the change, like the crystal ball thing, being able to see the future, nope. It's not, because it's not just the change of the furniture, it's also everything else that furniture change is going to affect. Yeah, it looks great to us, but now it's blocking so-and-so's door a little bit. So in the future, we're going to have fights with so-and-so because every time they try to open and close their door, they're going to be like, seriously, your dresser right here. Right? There's a lot of, oh gosh, the brain goes through a lot of what ifs. Anyway, I wish I had known. This is the part where I have to be careful because I'm going to put the blame on me again. It's not my fault. I'm going to say a sentence and it's going to be like, what, really? That it's my fault that she's dead because I could have helped her. But it's not my fault. I have to be honest at the same time, it's not my fault. And also kind of a little bit it is. I could have reached out. I could have, would have, could have, should have, right? Could have reached out to her. See, what happened was, like I said, we weren't really friends. I met her as an acquaintance through my friend Terry years ago when we were teenagers. And what was it? I mean, she was just here. She was just that, she was just in the picture, background of the world kind of thing for me. Well, then some years back, before Benji, I got a message from my friend Terry asking me about Rachel was looking for someone to take care of her son because she was working. She was looking for a daycare type thing. And I was just getting ready to open my own little daycare business. It had always been my dream. Captain Tealeaves and her little pirate mateys. Oh my gosh. That kind of is a sore spot. But anyway, so I was yeah, sure, I was just starting out. Not long after that, I ended up having a waiting list because a lot of people just knew. Friends of mine or my friends had referred me to other people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's just amazing with kids." It's not just bring your kids, drop your kids off at her place, and they watch TV all day, or no, they go on nature walks, and they talk about the world, and they bake together. Yeah, that was all my kids' friends have always. Oh my gosh, you guys have been able to know me back in the day. Oh wow. Yeah, sore spot, really sore spot, because I was really excited about my little daycare. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into all that. So Rachel needed me to watch her son. Sorry. He still looks like himself. He doesn't even know who I am. He was a baby. I literally had him within no time at all. I started babysitting. She didn't have a car, so I had to go pick him up and bring him back to her. She worked sometimes 2 or 3 jobs. A lot of times, no matter what, though, she was working at night a lot of times. And it kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to get a little guy out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, take him home. So he pretty much lived with me. We took him over. I would take him over before she had to go to work so that she could visit with him and then take him back home again. He pretty much lived with me. He was my little baby boy. He was a cutie pie. Anyway, I'm gonna start crying. I can feel it already. Rachel and I would talk. At that point, we started talking a lot about her past. Unfortunately, at that point, even though I had the theory stuff started, I hadn't gotten to the mental health part of it. See, when this first all came out, it wasn't about mental health. I mean, it was, but there wasn't the understanding. Like when I first came up with the theory, if you had said, well, okay, then what is depression in the brain? I would have said, well, I'll have to think about that because it hadn't come to me yet about how it actually clicks together. at the beginning, all it was just simply how the emotional worked and how the functional worked by definition, just by themselves. Ta-da! That's it. So it was a very basic, simple way of looking at it. Would have been nice if I had actually written it down at that time. But from there, taking that very basic, simple recipe and then mixing it this way, mixing it that way to figure out what depression really is, what anxiety really is, what, all those things really are. Bipolar, manic, and borderline. Whew. Autism. I actually got a call back from them, but it wasn't because they wanted to talk to me. It's because my name was on a list of people they were supposed to call back. Anyway, that's a whole other story. So yeah, we started talking a lot about her past. when I moved into my apartment, which is when I was going to actually be able to take in more kids off the waiting list. Because I had some other kids I was taking care of too. Um, but I was at my parents' house still at that time, and I couldn't take in too many. Um, when I got my apartment, got it all set up for doing the daycare thing and everything. But it wasn't long after that I got sick, and I had to stop babysitting. So then we lost touch. I figure it was partially because she owed me money. I mean, I was watching her Sunday in and day out, and yeah, there was a lot owed. And sometimes when people owe money, they kind of disappear. But also with me being sick, who knows? I don't know. But we lost touch. And I hadn't heard about her or anything until last week when Terry messaged me and she said Rachel died. They just found her in her apartment. I don't even know who it was that found her. I really hope it wasn't him. He's only like 10 or 11. Anyway, so they don't that I know of. They don't even know why she passed away. They found paraphernalia around her. So I guess maybe that's the assumption. She's been cremated already, so that's it. Um, I didn't even know when she died until the funeral, like what day she actually died, you know. But yeah, and I personally probably wasn't gonna go, you know, even though it was right here in my little hometown. I just because I mean, she lived like a state or so away, you know, when all this happened. But I guess her family still lived here, and so they had her memorial visitation memorial here. Anyway, I don't know all the details to her life. What details I did know back when we talked, I've kind of forgotten. In fact, there were a couple things that she had said to me that seemed to contradict themselves at the funeral, but that's not uncommon. What one person remembers in their past may not necessarily be how their past really went. Um, that's another Anne Frank. You know, the Diary of Anne Frank. Oh, if only I'd been able to talk to them. I'll explain that later, maybe, if I can. Anyway, so I, my friend Terry, she said, you know, come get me because her car had broken down a little while back, and so I said, well, I have to see if I can, you know, borrow a car because I don't go anywhere. I don't need a car. The occasional, you know, there's a car out there that I can use. Great, you know. So I had to borrow a car, work it out and everything. Um, well, I got dressed. I just wore what I wore for church, and um, actually, I didn't wear what I wear for church. I usually wear a black dress for church. I wore my black skirt, which I haven't worn in quite a while. I exercised once. Anyway, I went to go pick up Terry because we had agreed I would pick her up about 9 o'clock. I would be there at 9, which, because I've learned how you work with people with depression, we always say before you have to be there, before you would actually need to pick them up, this is what time I'm going to pick you up. So if I'm actually, technically I should have told her 8:30, but I told her 9. Because if I was expecting to pick her up at 9:30, I got to tell her a half hour before that is when I'll actually be there. And then you just show up early, and it's no big deal. It's your friend. Yeah. Oh, you needed help getting ready, I figured. Here, whatever. Oh, that's just how it works. Because if you've noticed, people a lot of times wait till the last minute when they're dealing with mental health stuff like depression, anxiety, all that. Yeah, they'll wait till the last minute. They'll like run around in circles talking about how they need to get stuff done. They need to get certain things done, but they won't do them. And then all of a sudden they'll do them, but that's because it's time to go. There's a reason for that. Anyway. Because they don't need to. I might as well say it. That's the whole point, is to let people know why. Because they don't need to. When do I have to get dressed? I have to be at the place at 2 o'clock. Well, I guess I have to get dressed at 1:50. Unless if it takes 10 minutes to get there, then I have to get dressed at like 1:40. Unfortunately, doing it that way means that you're not counting at all for any what ifs. What if my clothes, what if I found, there's a tear in my shirt I'm going to wear. I got to figure out another shirt, right? You got to have a few more minutes to figure something out. Nope, there is no what if with it. The ability to say, what if there's a traffic situation, so I should leave, even though it's 10 minutes away, I should leave maybe 15 minutes ahead of time, Nope. When are we supposed to be there? 2 o'clock? That's when you're due. So up until that time, you will see people that are procrastinating or having mental health issues and procrastinating, whatever you want to call it. You'll see them waiting up until about that time. Because when are we due? Functionally speaking, for a fact, this is when you're supposed to be there. This is why people run late, running out the door. And, they're showing up at work and stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had a hole in my shirt. Well, couldn't you have put those clothes out the night before to make sure they were all ready to go? No, because that would be saying, what if I do something I don't actually need to do now? Do I need my clothes the night before? No, I need them that next morning to go to work. So then you don't put them out the night before. Get it? A little bit? Anyway. So I show up and I honk the horn quietly. It's still a little early. Saturday. And there's no response. I messaged her, actually. I messaged her, told her. That's when I told her I was running a little late. But I didn't hear back from her, which isn't uncommon. When someone's getting ready, maybe they're not paying attention to their phone because they need to get ready, right? But that also could be that they're not actually looking at their phone. Because guess what? They're still sleeping. Yes. I opened her front door. I can do that. I turned off the car. I went inside, opened her front door, and then in her bedroom, she's sleeping in her bed. Terry, get up. Got to go to the funeral. What are you doing? And she's got the brain fog going on, because she can't remember anything. She can't remember we had a conversation about this. This has happened a few times with her, with me personally. I know it's happened a lot more with other people, and I'll tell you about that too. Yeah. She doesn't know what I'm talking about when I say, well, we're going to go to the funeral. Not a clue. Completely slipped her mind. So, boy, oh boy. She's done this with medications, apparently other things too. It took about a half hour or so getting her moving and looking at her phone. Like, it doesn't matter if I sent you the message. I'm here. I'm here now. What are we going to do now? Nope. She had to confirm for a fact when I said that I sent her a message. The fault is not on her. She has to see for a fact that there was a message sent, that there was a communication that happened, because her brain is in so much disbelief type thinking. That's not actually what's happening in the behind scenes. That's not what's actually happening. In the first curtain, we'll say that's what's happening. The brain is saying, no, you're lying to me. No, mm-mm. It's got the little fog going on, but it's still sitting there through the fog. No, you're lying to me. No, we did not communicate about this. What are you talking about? Rachel died. What are you talking about? No. That far. No. But in the curtain behind that, the brain knows. The brain knows. It's got the information. It's doing brain fog on purpose. But in order to be able to do something like that on purpose, it's got to make it look real, right? Even to the person themselves. This is the one of the things that I have to stress with people. You have to understand, it's not the person, it's their brain. And their brain is doing this on purpose for a reason. And of course, if you want someone to believe you're sick, you have to act it. So yes, it is kind of like acting, but it's the brain doing it, not the person. That's just how it works. I don't know how to tell people. I mean, actually, there is another way to explain it, because there's like an emotional version and there's like a functional version of how to explain how this is going on in the brain. Doesn't matter. The process is still the same, no matter how you explain it. The point is, the brain is doing it on purpose. You think there's something so majorly wrong with you because you have brain fog. Nope. No, your brain is actually fine. In fact, because your brain is setting up these mental health issues, the depression, the brain fog, the anxiety, is actually kind of a show that your brain is working better than you realize. It looks like it's not working very well. It's working better than you think. It's protecting you. It's just doing it in an overprotective manner. That's why it's going overboard when it comes to detaching. Do I need to worry about, so-and-so just called and they need a ride home from school, but I was supposed to tidy up this room in here. So do I need to worry about tidying up the room, or do I need to worry about getting this person from school? Right? So we focus on the priorities. So we detach from the other stuff. What we would normally just say, oh, I'll get that later, roll with it. We have to actually detach. Yes, there is a difference, even though they're the same type of thing. Letting go and detaching are the same thing. There is two different ways of looking at them, though. One is an actual process that has to, it's almost like two steps instead of one step. Detach, even though let go is two words. That's just the way it works. Sorry, there's this light now. Bad light. I might have to fix that because it's like right in my face. I know it doesn't look like it. I can see it I can see me. There's my finger. There's my finger. I can see me. It doesn't look like it, but I gotta fix this real quick. Oh, goodness. No, I don't want you to mess with my glasses. I work hard to do this. Hopefully that works. Oh, that's a little bit better. Yes. That's the broken chair. To be careful. I have to fix it. And I know how to. Do I need to? See how I'm still sitting in it? Do I need to fix it? Is it broken that I can't sit in it? No. See how I don't need to fix it then? I need to fix it, and yet I don't, because I can still sit in it. Now, the funny thing is, when it gets to the point where I can't sit in it, because if the leg actually has gone out, there's going to be more damage to it than if I actually took the time to shore it up now. it'd be fine. The chair would be fine. I would short it up, it'd be fine. But by waiting, it'll actually cause more damage to the point where maybe even not that easy. I mean, it's still fixable. It's still fixable. I can do anything. But by waiting, we'll just say it's, hey, Jerry, get off of Hogwarts. Hold on. Wait. No. No. Not yours. Not yours. It's Benji's. This is Benji's. Okay? Listen. Oh, he's just letting me love on you. He's just letting me love on you. Oh, lover boy. I can't sit here and pet you, though. I've got a thing over here going on. Oh, special needs. Oh, yes. Oh, under the chin. Yes, I know you love it under the chin. I know. Well, if you want me to pet you, you can come over here and sit on my lap. He's like, when pigs fly. When dogs fly, said the cat. Anyway, yeah, the chair. Yeah, you get it. Anyway. Jerry. No. No. Not that. Where was I? Sorry. Terry. Okay. So anyway, even after I showed her the messages, I had to go on my phone because she showed me on her phone where she hadn't gotten any messages from me and her thing was blank. Now, here's the crazy thing about that. What if she had just deleted it on purpose, but at the same time not realizing what she's doing? I'm telling you, the brain does things on purpose.
Hello, please leave a message after the tone.
Doing it on purpose. It really does. I don't know if she deleted it. I don't know if she had her phone pointed towards her. It didn't matter. I had her messages in my phone. Because she goes through different, she's got this messenger thing and that messenger thing, and she's got, I don't know. I said, look, I got one number for you. Actually, I got like 15 numbers for her in my phone. But one active, there it is, right there. Scrolled through, read it for 9 yards, where she said, can you pick me up? I didn't offer. She asked me. And then it's only reason, and that's not, I mean, in all honesty, that doesn't matter one way or the other, except for the fact that when it comes to that down to the wire, who did what, just to be clear, you asked me to be here. It wasn't even me saying, well, I can come pick you up. And then maybe you didn't say anything back to that. So then that could be considered, well, you may have offered, but I didn't accept your offer. Right. Doing a nice thing, and it turns out, it's happened before, right? Yeah, it's all of us. Anyway, so to be very specific, I said, you asked me to come pick you up to take you to the funeral. So anyway, like I said, took quite a while to get her moving and seeing the situation and all that. And I even offered. I said, well, why don't you just grab some clothes, come to my house, take a shower, get ready there. Because I knew she would move faster if she was at my house. But then I could tell. I could see it in her. She's not going to go. Her brain's detaching her from this. Rachel, I mean, she was the same age as us. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like a way older cousin dying or even something like happening like a car accident. Even, I mean, to some degree, even that could be a little bit explained, because it's like, well, then no matter what age you were taken by something else. Now this is somebody's own heart giving out. I think that's the only thing that whatever it was. Like I said, they did. I don't know what really, but that I know of, I guess it was like a heart attack or something. Their own body in some way gave out, and they're the same age as us. Wait a minute, hold on. Whoa, that could happen to us. You mean? Because Terry and Rachel are not that much different when it comes to. Well, no, that's Rachel. Probably might still have been drinking. Terry doesn't drink. I think she has ulcers or something, so she doesn't really drink very much. Anyway, really with the box light. Ugh, hang on. I don't know if that's going to do anything. I doubt it. We'll see. That might help. Benji got some throwing axe thing for Christmas from someone in the family, and it's just like this little flip out board material. Hold on. I have to find out if somebody's over here messing with something they shouldn't be. Yeah, you are. Stop. Jerry, you're not going to be allowed to be up here if you're going to mess with this stuff. Okay? I know you like that space, but you just can't do that. I need to put up some guardrails or something. Anyway, yeah, throwing axe. It's got little felt pieces on the axes. And you throw them at the little board. Well, I just used the board to cover that window. So until the light starts coming through the next window, we're good for a minute. Oh, my brother's quiet. Anyway, yeah, I could tell. Not only is her brain going through the whole, I don't need to. If I don't go to this funeral, will I stop breathing? No. I don't need to go then. I may have wanted to. It may have been the right thing to do, functionally speaking. But what's the more, the better, stronger fact? Fact, I should be there. That was my friend. Fact, there's other people that are my friends that are going to be there. Fact, all these other little facts that, not to mention all the memories ever since she got the call or the message that Rachel had passed. Her brain, whether she's realizing it or not, is starting to collect those little memories together. It's part of what makes us do things. Our brain, sometimes we're like, but, well, there's this fact or there's that fact that says I should go. Well, sometimes those facts are actually memories, because memories are, did they happen? They did. So they're facts in our lives, right? Yeah, so they're on the functional side. Brain starts pulling those together. Yeah, whether we're aware of it or not. And this is the hilarious thing when it comes to brain fog. Just as much as it can pull them together, it can hide them too. She actually started, I could see it in her face. I'll bet you if I stood there and said, can you remember one memory between you and Rachel? She'd be like, and you can feel them. I know this is weird for anybody who's never experienced it. You can feel the information. It's like it's right behind this curtain, and all you have to do is move it. It's right there. Like I can't, like on the tip of my tongue type thing, but I just can't. But it's an even more frustrating thing because I'm trying to remember a movie that so-and-so was in, it's not the same as saying, I was really good friends with this person. We had lots of memories together, and I can't remember one. But the brain's doing it on purpose. And why? Because as it detaches you from these memories, it's also detaching you from the fact you need to go. Get it? Yeah, there's a method to the madness in the brain. There really is. I'm just saying. Anyway, wow. Sorry. Just the whole thing. The whole everything. Well, yeah, like I said, I could see it in her face that she was detaching from it. That her brain was the need to go at all. Because at one point when I first woke her up, when I first kind of got her to come around and stuff, I could see the urgency of, I got to get ready. I got to do something. But that was going away. It was being actually replaced with defiance. It wasn't showing yet, but I could see it. I could feel it building in her. That there was about to be a defiant move, and there was. And that was when her son came out of his bedroom, and I didn't even know he was home. Anyway, another little guy, my baby, baby. Oh, he hated Judge Judy. He loves it now. He didn't hate it. It was always, but that was nap time. Because that was my little time that I got to watch TV, and that was nap time. He fell asleep really easily when we watched Judge Judy. Anyway, so he came out, and he said, "Mom, yeah. Hey, Jerry, gosh, what blessed dog, even though you're a cat. Gotta get into everything. Come on, quit. I mean it, buddy. What is your deal? Here. Want me to put him in the kitchen? No, it's got sauce like that. Are you just frustrated? Are you just bored? I haven't been on the computer in a long time, have I? And you're just kind of like, what? If you're sitting down here, you should be paying attention to me. Pay attention to me. Don't pay attention to your computer screen. Oh my goodness, oh my Jerry. I gotta show you my Jerry. Ah! Look. Look, Jerry. It's you. It's you, Jerry. Hi. Not happy. He doesn't. Okay. Since I have to cut your nails later, I'll let you down. Not gonna like me later. He scarred my arm. It's not his fault entirely. It would normally have healed, but I don't take care of myself very well, so I don't heal very well. Yeah, do I need to? I'm still walking and talking and breathing. I guess I don't need to. But see, I don't know if you can see him. This happened a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. He's pushing his head against the screen. Yeah. Doesn't heal. I should have. Anyway, I got a few spots like that on me. I'm realizing now I really do need to take care of myself a bit better. Benji got really bad dry skin. Oh, I'll have to tell you about that too. Anyway, don't knock the bowl over, but you can play with it. There you go. Where was it? Yeah, so her son. Even her fiance, he was like, yeah, honey, you were supposed to go to a funeral today. And her son was kind of getting a little upset, like, Mom, you're doing it again. You're forgetting conversations that just happened. And she got defiant. I've been standing there saying the same thing. But her son coming out was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Because who does she really need to prove her to? Who is it also more than anyone not making sense why she's being this way? This woman who always was on it. Let me tell you. She knew where you had to be, when you had to be there, all of it. It's almost like being the opposite of what you once were. Yeah. And out of the 3 people that were in the room beside her, me, her fiance, and her son, who did she really have to prove that to? As well as prove for, as well as prove against at the same time? Her son. That's when the defiance showed. Because I know what it's like. I've been through it. It's like, this isn't me. I don't forget things like this. I don't forget important things. Why is it that I can't? I went over and I hugged him. I said, baby, don't. Honey, it's not mom. It's her brain doing it. It's not her doing it on purpose. You can talk to my kids. When I went through it, they still to this day, my kids think I was making it up. How could they sit there and have a conversation with me and 5 minutes later come back in the room and say, are you ready to go? Or you da-da-da? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? No, you didn't ask me to. You didn't ask me to do something for you. You didn't ask me to. How is that possible? It is. Just like I said, I don't doubt at all that she possibly deleted, because there was nothing. When she showed me the screen on her phone for one of the messenger services or whatever she uses, there was nothing on it. She had to have deleted our conversations, because there were other conversations at one point. So how is there nothing on there at all? Not just we're missing these particular conversations, nothing. She had to have just deleted it. But if you had looked at her and said you just deleted it, she'd been like, no, I didn't. And she's being truthful. She's being honest. You look at her in the face and you're like, and yet at the same time, one, how is that possible that someone is that brain fogged, right? How is it possible that someone would forget that easily, that they would just gone? Something that just happened. How, and yet at the same, it's a very difficult thing. It really is, because for as much as you're like, there's no possible way that you forgot this, you're also looking at their face and seeing in their face where they're being genuine with you. And yet at the same time, you're also still getting this feeling like, no, they've got to be lying to me. They've got to be putting on a show, pretending that they didn't, that they forgot something, as well as they are so good that they are acting the part of being genuine about it. You feel so deceived. There's something so deceptive going on in this person. No. I mean, yes, technically, but it's not them. It's not them. It's their brain. It's doing it on purpose. You are such a, you dirty rat. Why? No. No. Here, do something with yourself. Here, scratchy. Play with your toys. Something. Goodness sakes. There we go. We're going to scratch for a while. Okay. Anyway, oh my gosh. I have not even covered all the stuff I wanted to say that I put in the comments. Or not the comments. The description. Oh my goodness. I said it to him a few times. This is not your mom doing this on purpose. It's her brain, not her. I went through it. I understand. I told him, you can ask my kids. They'll tell you. They still don't believe me. It's just the same as they don't believe how I could sit here with 15 different things to do. Stuff for storage, stuff for laundry, stuff for whatever, stuff to be put away, stuff to be figured out. How I can sit here and not do them. How I can sit here in the middle of all of it and cry because I can't do it. I mean, before I even did this video, I stood there in the hallway after Benji left for the day for school. I stood there and was just staring at. Actually, I don't think I stared at too many different things. About 3 different things, but it was like staring at 50 different things. Because my brain was saying, well, with this, with that, with that, with that. Well, I could start working on that. I need to start working on it. I told Mom I would work on that. But I also need to go do that. And I also need to go do that. But that needs to get done too. But in order to do that, I got to do this first. But in order to do that first, I have to do this and this and this first, which means having to have done this other thing first before I even do that. One way or another. The brain runs you around in circles. And it's doing it on purpose. You know, people are sitting there saying, you just don't think about it, you just do it. It's not you. If it was just don't think about it, just do it, and it was all on just me, we'll say, just me. Sure, I'll just go do it. I'll just go out there and just start working, just start doing it. But it's not me. It's my brain. Now it's tricky though, because there are times where it is me too. And that's where it's kind of like the why should I? See, at least when you're detached, because you're so depressed, you just can't, you look it. You're down. You got the gray look in your eyes. Every movement you make is slow. Like you're underwater. I mean, you just look at other people. You look sick. But what about right now? Do I look sick? I don't look sick. Yeah, I'm sitting here going, I can't. I need to, but I can't. But I can't. So why should I? Like I said, I was on health medication or depression medication, and I was feeling better, but sometimes still getting stuck. It's the same thing. I'm not on a depression medicine, but I know what's going on with people who are on the medicine but still feeling stuck. It's the why should I? You are such a pain. Yo, dude. Maybe because of Benji going back to school. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. I guess I'm kind of at the end of that because, I mean, there's not really too much further to go other than to say she didn't go. I ended up going, but she didn't go. But I told a few people that I at least knew of. I didn't know anybody there except for, like, the little guy I babysat, his dad, Rachel's sister. That's it. I didn't know anybody else. But on that note, I was looking at baby pictures. You know, they have the little video thing running with the pictures flipping, you know, from a collage. What do they call that? Like a screensaver thing, but the pictures are flipping. I don't know, whatever they call them. Pictures of Rachel when she was a little girl. So from a young age, what she looks like to me, because sometimes you can see this in people's faces, she seemed more functional. Later in life, you would have thought her an emotional person for sure. She was constantly emotional. But that's sometimes also a sign that it's not that it's actually the opposite. It's like over trying. I'm trying so hard to be what people want me to do, be outgoing and talkative. I got to try even harder than I really should because I don't know what I'm really doing because what my brain says I should be doing is duh, 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 duh. But everybody else is saying, no, be out there. So I'm out there. Like she would flip out at like almost anything. And not just flip out, but draw it on and on and on. So yeah, I look at her and I saw a more functional situation going on when she was a kid. Now, does that mean for a fact that she was functional minded, born, born that way, functional minded? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe she was just quiet in certain ways, um, or maybe she wasn't functional minded at birth, we'll say, but something functionalized her at a young age. Now, when I talked to her back when I was babysitting and bringing him over, and we would sit and chat, while she was spending time with him. And when I talked to her, I won't go into it, it's personal, but I was kind of given an idea of a few things from her past that, involved like her family. And so her family would have been affected by those things too. But some of the family that she talked about didn't seem affected. There was something, but it wasn't. Mm-mm. But I do believe that there was some mental health stuff going on in some other parts of her family, like sibling wise and stuff, which then suggests that it wasn't just something that affected her. So it had to have been something that kind of was like affected the family as a whole in some way. I don't think I saw a mom there. I saw pictures of mom. She looked just like Rachel. And I'm wondering if mom passed away when the kids were young. And as stupid as it may sound, that might have been what started everything. She made some pretty bad choices in her life, we'll say. You know how you'll have this friend, and this friend thinks that they're dating someone who's just so great. I mean, he's got his problems, or she's got her problems, but they're just so great at the same time, and I love them. And you want to look at them and you want to smack them upside their head because you're like, not only are they a bad person for you, they're a bad person. They're abusive, verbally, physically. They're wrong. They're just all the way around, and you just want to keep being around that. Even though there's like other people that would be interested in you, why are you so? What is it that you're not just focused? You're over focused on this one person that's so bad for you. We all know people like that. It may have been ourselves at some point or another. That was kind of her story a little bit too. And we just have to wonder sometimes how people cannot use common sense to see this person is beating you. Why would you stay with them? Right? Because you're afraid of them, because you love them. They sound like excuses, don't they? Well, they are and they aren't. There's a little bit more going on behind the scenes than that. I'm wondering, when it comes to her situation, I'm wondering if mom passing away, something about mom passing away is what messed with her from the very beginning, as well as her other siblings mess with them in their way too. I say that because I know people are like, well, people's parents pass away all the time and other people are fine. Well, so what makes you think that just this particular situation is going to, turn out this way? And it's because of a parent passing away. So everybody's different, for one. That's just number one right there. Everybody's different. Everybody's affected differently by things. Some people, someone passes away and they go, oh, well, sorry to lose them. And, but I'll keep them in my heart always, but I'm living still, so I'm going to keep moving on. And some people, they don't. They just kind of shut down. And then some people, they look like they're moving on, but inside they're shutting down. That's what happened with, what's his face? Howard Hughes. Same thing. He looked like he was moving on. He was moving on. And yet there was a part of his brain that said, no. Some people just are more independent than others will say. Want to do things all on their own way. And I say that, and when I say that, let me rephrase that. Their brain. Remember, there's a difference between you and your brain. But just like we see people that are more independent and people who are more dependent, you have to understand that that can be something in the brain too. And for as much as this person outside seems like a very independent person, moving on, going on, that does not mean their brain is the same. Their brain might be saying, no, I'm very dependent upon my parent that's now passed away. I need them. Not just because, all of us to some degree need information from our parents. This is why it's kind of important for children to have both parents, one way or another. This is why sometimes the other parent will say, in a not so great situation, has to somewhat say, we have to figure out a way for this child to still be around that parent without me having to be around that parent, because that's very hairy on that situation. But it's very important because children, it's like getting information, but it's like a psychic thing. They're doing it behind the scenes. Yes, just like I learned how to make soup from my grandmother, at the same time that I'm making soup out here in the world with my grandmother, my brain and her brain are doing other things too. Yes, I do believe that. I do believe that those kind of things can happen. I do believe that children and parents, both are switching back and forth information-wise. Who knows? Just like a computer has to be updated sometimes in the background. You're sitting here playing your game or whatever, and your computer says, well, I need to do some updating. So it does it in the background. So you're not even aware of it. You're not, whatevs, yeah, do your thing, whatevs, I'm playing my game. Same thing. Our brains work very much like a computer in that way, because it does do a lot of behind the scenes updating and uploading and downloading and reload, whatever. I don't know, all that stuff. Booting, rebooting, all that. I believe that. And so then, yes, it's very important for people to have both parents, information from both parents. I know that's really kind of putting people in a corner when it comes to, well, my parents passed away. Both of them passed away when I was a little kid. But I was raised by some really great people. They adopted me and they loved me as if I was their own. I mean, that they, had given me life themselves. So I don't agree with you, tea leaves. Well, I understand, that's fine. Because there are some people out there that go through that and they're fine. Their brain, in some way or another, says, I'm missing information, but that's okay. I can roll with it and make sense of it in some other way. It figures that out somehow. But some of us don't. Case in point, if I'm not mistaken, there's a guy who's, it's been a while since I've seen this show, I don't know, but there was a show, one of those crime shows talking about the kid. He was adopted. Apparently, there were two versions of it, though. I saw two versions of this show. So this story. Two different shows, all different shows. But the same story. And in one, it was just this boy being adopted by these people. But in another one, and both parents are dead. He killed both parents. But in another one, it's talking about how there is actually a sister and the father is still alive. It's kind of weird. Anyway, so don't quote me on anything. But if I'm not mistaken, this guy is in jail for killing his mother and attempting to kill his father. Or did kill his father. I don't know. And nobody knows why. And I'll bet he doesn't even know why. But I know why. Without going into a bunch of extra stuff, because there were still other things I wanted to talk about today, and my mom's going to be here soon. Oh, yeah. She's going to be here soon, and she's going to look at me saying, "Why are you on the computer? I thought you had things to do today. Aren't you going to do storage? Aren't you?" I know it's coming. I was just trying to do this to try and do something I didn't need to do to help grease the wheels for other things I don't need to do. Anyway, but if I'm not mistaken, the reason why he killed his mother and attempted to kill his father, adopted, was because he was adopted. That's it. Now, that is the fire starter. There was information from the get-go missing from his brain. And I think the girl is his sister. If according to the one show, it's his actual blood sister. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's his blood sister, adopted sister, or if there was even a true sister. I don't know. But I know there's been other situations where there's been two kids, whether they were adopted or not, and one went one direction and one went another direction. Why? Why does that happen? How? Why is it that a trauma happens and one kid is affected horribly and the other kid is like, I'm cool. No, it happened, but I'm cool. I'm rolling with it. And how are their brains able to make sense of that? Well, like I said, it's if I got a more in-depth look at their lives, I might be able to explain why, what reasoning was used for her, that she was able to roll past it, we'll say. Brain was able to make sense of it. But otherwise, I can't without more, detailed information. But, yeah, what it comes down to is he was adopted. When it comes to that functional brain, things need, not we want to, we kind of need to, need, like life and death. Life and death need. It gets to that extreme to make sense. When something doesn't make sense, the brain has to find a way to detach from it, make sense of it in some other way. So if it can't make sense forward, it'll make sense of it backward, which is when you'll see some extreme behavior that there's actually, I can't go into it. I'm saying something and I don't have an actual example to give, so never mind that. But if it can't make sense of something forward, it'll do it backwards, or it'll have to use something else to make sense of it or detach from it. Now, if it's something that's not that important, then it can detach from it. I don't need to make sense of it. It's not part of my world. It's not part of my life, anything, But when it comes to something that is part of that person's world, their personal bubble space world, like parents or siblings or something in along those lines, now you can't just detach. Now you need to make sense of this. And so it's almost like a constant conflict happening in the brain. I roll with it, move on with life, but need to make sense of this. Roll with it, but move on. But need to make sense of this. Could you imagine how much that conflict back and forth, day and night, the anxiety it would cause, the anger it would cause, because it doesn't make sense. Because every time the brain says, I need to make sense of this and can't, then it goes, why can't I? I don't understand. See it? See the defiance? See the anger? See yeah. And it's like a constant thing, which is why some people almost seem angry all the time. And apparently this kid was. Growing up, from a young age, he was defiant. He was angry. He was, yeah. They ended up putting him into some kind of a boot camp or something, but it was in another land, foreign land. I don't know. There was something weird about it. I can't remember exactly what was said. There was some issue involved with it. I don't know. Like they're disciplining. They say they discipline in this way, but the way they were really disciplining was very aggressive and kind of abusive. So I don't know. But when a kid says, "Get me out of here. This place is horrible," that could be just them complaining. Because some people do that. They're like, this place is horrible, and it's really not, but to them it is. Then you'll suck it up. You'll be fine. And what parent hasn't looked at a kid and said, "Oh, quit your complaining, deal with it, grow up and deal with it. This is how it's going to help you to realize what the real world's like." Not realizing maybe how bad it actually is in the kid's brain or even in real life. I don't know. Anyway, the point is, whether it was a bad place or not, in this person's brain, this little, I believe wasn't little anymore, I guess he was a teenager. He was difficult to deal with, so they sent him there, I guess, to kind of wake up and say, hey, this is the real world. See how nice and cushy you have it here? Now you got to get up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. and milk the cows and get eggs from the chicken. I don't know, whatever the boot camp did to them. Whatever it was, it didn't make sense to this person's brain. So we went with the fire starter, which was being adopted, losing the parents. There's all kinds of questions around that one. I'm not even going to go into that. And unfortunately, seeing is believing in a lot of those cases. And so it's not just, well, your parents passed away because of this or that. It's, no, the brain, in order to make sense of it, crazy as it sounds, needs to see it. Seeing is believing. You want to believe the parents are dead, you need to see it. How they died. Because every time they walked out the door, they always came back. And they walked out the door that day, and all the child's brain knows is that it just didn't come back. Now, people are saying things, but what the brain knows for a fact, because seeing is believing, parent walked out the door, but just didn't come back. So what these people are saying is possible, but can you show me a video of when the car went over the mountain? Can you show me something? And even a video isn't necessarily a true answer because videos can be changed. And the moment the brain realizes that information will now be possibly, I don't want to say obsolete and not erased, but the new information that videos can be doctored, depending upon where that mental state is of that person and their life situation at that time, could affect them, could change things. So whereas they were fine before, rolling with it just fine, they say, okay, all right, I believe you, Aunt so-and-so. I've always been able to trust you. So when you say that mom and dad died because of a car accident, I trust you, and everything's fine. I'm sorry. There's a video. This is gonna be kind of stupid graphic, but let's say there's a video that actually shows this kid here. See, there's the car. It's going over. You see it now. Okay, we're done. Now we're going to turn it off. 10 years later, everything's fine. There's little hiccups, of course, because there's missing information. But moving on. For the most part, everything's fine. 10 years later, we'll say this kid is watching a video that talks about how videos can be doctored. And since which is 30 years ago, they've been able to doctor videos. Now that information is in the brain, and it might just sit there and do nothing. It's now just information in the brain. Or it might get in there and start messing around with things. Big one being, wait a minute, mom and dad's death was on video. What if that video was doctored? Dum, dum, dum. Now we're getting a conspiracy things. Who would have done that? Why would they have done that? Da-da-da. And let's say their mental state is a little bit more, we'll just say that their mental state's not that great to begin with right then and there anyway. The government. What if the government did it? What if mom and dad were part of some government operation that they can't tell me about? That's why Aunt so-and-so is so quiet about certain things about mom and dad's life. She's just quiet about it because it hurts to talk about it. But she doesn't want to say that because she wants to be strong for the kid. So she just keeps it to herself. Anytime it's brought up, she just goes, we just don't talk about that. We'll talk about it some other time. But what if it's really not? What if it's just a cover-up because they worked for the government? Or my aunt works for the government and she had to have them killed off. What if my aunt is the one who did it? Oh, I'm sorry, I just went off on a whole tangent. I'm sorry. It's helpful sometimes. Be in my head once in a while. It's no different crazy than anybody else's out there, I'm sure, but still, it always seems like it is more so to us because it's us. Oh, anyway. I don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, the kid that was adopted. So, yeah, anyway, the whole point is, yeah, it's because he was adopted. That was the fire starter. And then the next thing was that boot camp, and that just kind of put things over the edge because that really made these people who are obviously not the enemy, okay, they were in question because of the fire starter. They've been in question in the brain somehow all these years. It hasn't been able to determine that they do good things and but then but good things, but then bad things. And it might have been always good things, but to this kid's brain, it might have just because the brain is still saying not the mama, not the daddy. Anything they do, even if good, might have seemed like a bad thing. If that makes sense. I don't know. It makes sense to me. And it makes sense to everybody else. Anyway. Wow. So then he gets sent to the boot camp, and that just makes the brain so nope. Now they're the enemy, which is where we've made sense of. See how I said make sense of something forward, and if we can't, we'll do it backwards. He couldn't make sense of it forward, so he made sense of it backwards, and so the friend became the foe. I don't know what happened to his real parents. I don't know his whole story. I never looked it up, nor am I going to, at least not at this time. It's not been requested. I'm not doing it. But who knows? Maybe his brain had figured out that, well, mom and dad disappeared and these people appeared. If I get rid of them, maybe mom and dad will reappear. I know it sounds kind of silly to say something like that. Especially because if you look at him as a grown adult and you say that to him, he'll look at you and go, no. But what if? In the back of the brain, you can't figure it out any other. You can't make sense of it any other way. So what if it's possible? I would have to actually ask the guy and see his face to be able to possibly, I don't even know for sure, but possibly be able to tell if that's what's really going on in his brain. The back, behind, the second curtain, not the first curtain, brain fog curtain, but the second one. The mystery. Anyway, I don't even know why I was going with all that. This was supposed to be just an update. It was supposed to be a much shorter video. Oops. Oh well. I know in the comments thing or description thing, not comments, the description thing, I said some other names. I also mentioned something, Diary of Anne Frank. Okay, let me just cover that one real quick. I just watched that movie recently, the more recent one with Ben Kingsley in it. And I swear that one woman I don't like. It's not that I don't like her. She's just, some people have a whiny voice, like me, I guess. It's not just a whiny voice, but there's something also about their character's a little whiny too. So it's not just a whiny voice, but their character's a little whiny. And you're just like, okay, I can't watch shows with you. I'm sorry. I just can't handle it. I saw her in something one time years ago. It was a Law and Order, and I liked her in it. So that's why I thought I'd like her in another show. Nope. And I think she was in this movie too. I can't remember. I don't know. I didn't look it up. Anyway, here I go on a tangent again. So apparently, Anne kept that diary, and she talked about her mother. She talked about everybody, but in particular, I'm going to mention her mother and Mr. Pfeffer. Mr. Pfeffer. Now, apparently, there was some issue later on about the diary because when they wanted to turn it into a book and a movie and all that, the woman who posthumously married Mr. Pfeffer, as well as Mr. Frank, wanted to change things. Mr. Frank wanted to change how the mother had come across in the diary because she's spoken about, I guess, in a very negative sense. And Mrs. Pfeffer, the posthumously Mrs. Pfeffer, wanted things changed about Mr. Pfeffer because it made him sound I think they called him a dimwit. I think Anne called him a dimwit. Here's where I wish I would have been able to talk to these people to explain to them what was actually going on. So from the get-go, you can pretty much tell that Mr. Frank is kind of emotional minded. Let's be honest. He's talkative. He's compassionate with his daughters. He's very, very connecting in that sense. But the mother, I don't know what Anne said about her because I've never actually read the diary or a book. I've seen a couple versions of the movies. But I can tell you, most likely she was just functional minded. And either she was just stronger on the functional side. There's the average that's pretty close to the 50-50, so you don't really always see which one are they? I'm not sure. Sometimes they're this, sometimes they're that. And then there's the above average, which are kind of like, okay, it's a little more obvious which side you're on. Because almost percentage-wise, everything they do, say, everything about them comes across more functional. So either she was naturally just a more functional-minded person, or something happened to functionalize her more so than she normally would have been. So maybe she would have been a little bit more connecting with her daughters than she was, kind of idea. But you see, this is going to sound maybe a little stupid to some people when I say this, but in the movie at one point, I think Anne wakes up having a nightmare. Both parents are there for her. The father's holding her, talking her through it, and the mother disappears, though. And I was thinking about it. I thought, why did Mom walk out of the room? She went and got medicine. Sleeping medicine. Now, I know some people probably saw that part and would sit there and say, oh, really? You're going to drug your kid instead of letting her talk through what happened to her? You just want to make her go back to sleep right away, don't you? Just get her drugged and go to sleep. Some people are sitting there going, well, that makes sense. It's bedtime. It's night. You should be sleeping. We can discuss it tomorrow when it's the correct time to do so. So, of course, certain actions like that are going to seem heartless. Like, what's wrong with that woman? Shouldn't she wrap her arms around her poor baby and talk her through it? I mean, look at everything she's had to go through and had to give up. And why could she? How is she like that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because she's thinking about the facts of the situation. And you're a young girl. You need your sleep. I'm sorry that you had the bad dream, but you need your sleep. Sitting up and talking about it for 2 hours means Daddy doesn't get sleep, Mommy doesn't get sleep, and you don't get sleep. And that's no good for any of us. Right? Let's look at the facts of the situation. Let's look at what losing sleep does to us. Let's look at what, I don't know, whatever the facts were of the situation. Oh, there's a squirrel. He's not even looking at it. That's weird. That's how it works. I had a friend one time, I was talking to him, and he said their daughter was sick in the middle of the night. And he and the wife both, got up and to check on her. And then his wife went back to sleep and left him with the little girl. And he was like, what's wrong? Like, why wouldn't she want to, make sure she's okay? Well, here's the thing. Daddy stays at home with the kids all day. Mommy goes to work, and she doesn't just go to work. She goes to work at a hospital in an emergency room. So we're not just talking about someone who's, got to be focused on their job. She's really got to be focused. She loses sleep. It could mean life or death for a person in the hospital. She could make a wrong decision. And that's what she's thinking about. She's the breadwinner. She needs her sleep. It's not rude. It's not wrong. It's just the facts, ma'am. That's how it works. I explained it to him. I told him, I said, I know exactly how it all went down. And I sold him back to him, and he's like, wow, it's like you were in my attic or something listening to everything happening. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, this is why, though. But this is the brain works this way for a reason. For as much as you're thinking this person's heartless, how could they not? How could you not see that? It's like people who can't follow facial cues, emotional facial cues. How could you not see that in their face? Well, is that your face? No. So do I need to worry about your facial cues? No. Your emotions? No. It's not to be mean or anything, but I'm me and I need to worry about me. Just how it is. Now, if you specifically say, look at my face, am I happy or sad? So then what your actions have done have made me, now they get it. Now they get it. It's like crystal clear. Because you have explained to them, there's maybe given them a reason why this is important. It's like when we look at our kids and we say, oh, you did bad. You've lost them after the first couple words, right? Yeah. That's because their brain is no longer focusing. It's hearing, but it's not focusing on what you're saying. Just say, that was wrong. That's it. And walk away. It's not easy. Because even though I know this, and I know that some of my kids definitely work better with me looking at them and just simply saying, that was wrong, and walking away, I still can't. I'm here. I'm still me. Because I'm still me. My brain, me, I still operate the way I was, born to do so to speak. So I'm still going to go, that was wrong. You hurt so-and-so's feelings. You did this. You did that. You did that. Still going to add all that extra stuff in. I mean, it's not wrong to say that was wrong. You hurt so-and-so's feelings. And then, of course, really what's really nice to do, I know people have been in this situation before, where they were told they were wrong and they hurt someone's feelings, let's just say. But that was it. It was left at that. And that's because the other person just assumes the person that did wrong should know, they should just know that they need to fix it. They need to make amends in some way. Well, guess what? They don't just know that. You said you did wrong, you hurt so-and-so. That's it. You just assume that they should, know that they should fix it. No. Because have you made a request? Silly as it may sound to you, have you made the request? Have you said, and you need to fix that? Or even very specifically said, since you broke their $10 toy, you need to give them $10. Ta-da! See, we emotional-minded people, we tend to take for granted the fact that we just kind of know. We just feel what we should do. We should just da-da-da-da. That we just assume that because we work that way, everybody else does too. No. And if you want somebody to make amends, then you need to be very specific when you say that. I know. In your head, you're like, well, if they can't figure it out, it's like when the husband and wife have an issue, and it's very, very, what are the cliche, famous, whatever. Well, if you don't know what's wrong, I can't tell you. Really? You're going to walk around in a huff. You're going to be all upset. You're going to put the dishes away instead of putting them away. You're going to put them away. You're going to throw the laundry basket over there. You're going to, and then someone says, well, what's going on? What's wrong? Well, if you don't know what's wrong, I'm not going to tell you. You assume because your feelings are hurt by whatever this person did or did not do. Because you know what hurt you, they should know what hurt you. I mean, it makes sense. You know. It's very obvious to you. You know exactly. In fact, you were talking to your friends on the phone yesterday, and you were telling them about it, and they were like, "Oh, they were totally on board with you." So now they know too. That other person does not know. And when they sit there and they say, I don't know, it just makes you even more angrier. Like, what's wrong with you? How could you not have seen it? Because sometimes, unless you make a request, sometimes, unless you point something out, like seeing is believing again here, they just don't. I know that a lot of people say, well, it's because people want to be cryptic, like girls. They want to be, mysterious. They want to be cryptic and mysterious about things sometimes, right? This is true. But it's also because we assume, and I don't say girls, I mean, there's guys out there that do it too, so let's just keep it general there. We assume that if it's obvious to us, it should be obvious to others. And it's not. Anyway. So, moving on. I said about Anne Frank. Okay, yeah. So the same could be said for Mr. Pfeffer. Sounded that, from what I could tell, he was kind of functional minded. I do know why she used the word dimwit, because functional minded people do sometimes tend to seem aloof, oblivious, a little more self-focused. What makes sense to them is the only thing that should make sense, because duh, if it makes sense to, it's the same thing I was just saying. This is what makes sense to me, so obviously it should make sense to you. If my brain has figured out 1 + 1 = 2 in this way, then your brain should be able to figure that out too, because it's very simple. It's 1 + 1 = 2. We've all been in arguments before where someone looked at us and said, well, it does make sense. I got it in my head. It's already something that makes sense. So why doesn't it make sense to you? And you're like, because that's your world and this is mine and it's not the same. That's why. Well, sometimes we do think somebody is dim-witted or aloof or kind of whatever you would call it, because they don't seem, how do you put this? Because of them being a little bit more on the selfish side, they are focused on their needs and not the needs of a little 14-year-old girl. Like at one point in the movie, there was something about the desk. It's Anne's desk, but Mr. Pfeffer, being an adult, being a working adult, which I don't know how he was keeping up with his patients and being a working adult when he was in hiding. I don't quite understand that one. But but whether it was him actually working still or whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm an adult, and so whatever I need to do is what's more important. And children were raised with that type of thinking, in the sense that, adults, when they need something, they get it. Children, if we can get it for you, good. But, because adults are the ones that are making the responsible adult decisions. If we need a piece of furniture, then we get it because we need it. It's not a bad mentality. It's not a bad type of thinking. The idea is that the adults are, we're not going to go out there and get those brand new gym shoes for $40. We're going to get the $20 ones because we need to have food. We need to have that money for food too. We need to, so adults are going to make those more responsible decisions type thinking, right? So automatically, any adult is going to be, their need is going to be more responsible and more needed. So even regardless of if that adult happens to be a little bit more on the selfish side, so even though to them their need is more needed, and it's not, and I mean, I don't know. Like I said, if he was keeping up with his patients somehow, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It's kind of tricky to say because I just don't see how that would have worked very well. But I mean, that's just how it is. That's, automatically, I'm an adult, my need comes first. And so he's not open to the idea that, what if this little girl needs things too? What if she's hurting? What if she needs to share her feelings on her diary? I don't care if it's silly little girly writing. She needs this. She has no other outlets. She has no friend. He could sit there and he could state the facts for you. Well, she does not go out. She does not have friends to attend, go with. But the actual connecting to the emotional, to emotionally connecting to the words at the same time. He can state the facts, but emotionally connecting to those words and saying, well, she has no friends. Well, she has no friends. Get it? There's two different ways of looking at it. Well, was it his daughter? No, not his problem. I mean, if nothing else, you can look at it that way. Not his daughter, not his problem. His father or her father should be responsible for her mother, not him. And Anne is getting upset about the desk. It wouldn't normally have happened if she hadn't have been institutionalized in the way she was. If she'd been able to spread out, go other places, like if she had been at home, she could have gone to someone else's desk. She could have sat at the table. She would have been fine writing while she was sitting on the couch. I mean, I know, so to some degree, I take that back a little bit because I know to some degree, where do you write at a desk? That's it. There's a place that we take baths in the bathtub. There's a place where we cook in a kitchen. And that was, when it came to many, many years ago, things were more functional in that sense. We didn't sit there and say, well, where do you put flowers? In a bathtub. No, but we do that more nowadays. I love that tub, but I have to replace it. Well, instead of getting rid of it, could you put it in my backyard? I want to make a fountain with flowers and stuff. People didn't do things like that quite as much. It's kind of on the odd side, right? Yeah. Telling you, I can see that how as the eras have changed, the emotional and functional have gone up and down. More accepted, not accepted. More accepted, not accepted. Years ago, I wouldn't doubt if one of the reasons for the Salem witch trials was because some people were more emotional minded. But we were living in a functional era. Oh, goodness. It's gone back and forth. Anyway. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah. And so anyway, bottom line, both those people in her life were more functional minded. Functional minded people do tend to be a little odd to emotional minded people because we can't see how they can't connect, how they can't just see, feel. Why everything has to be so, that doesn't make sense to us. I mean, that in itself does not make sense to us. I mean, I've told my kids, I said, there's been times where for as much as things, it's nice when things make sense, but that doesn't stop me from doing something. In fact, I have made decisions before that actually did not make sense, but they felt good to me. It felt good to me. It sounded good to me. It doesn't make sense, but I'm going to do it anyway because that just sounds good. Now, a functional minded person hearing that would be like, how can you make a decision, maybe even a life-changing decision, because it sounds good? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't add up in any way. I'm looking at the whole situation going, that does not, nope, not at all. But it just sounds good to you, so you're just going to do it? That's it. What? Huh? So you see, it's on both sides. It's, you're confusing me. Yeah, well, you're confusing me. You don't make sense. That's what I should have used. You don't make sense. Yeah, well, you don't feel good. I don't know. Whatever. More emotional mindedness allows us to do something because it sounds good or feels good versus it makes sense. We don't need it to make sense. It just sounds good. It looks good. I don't care. It looks good. That's what makes sense to us. Though I know that sounds a little weird and like like when you watch a dog go round in circles just to go lay down. You're like, geez and crackers. That's what it feels like sometimes when I have to explain this stuff. But yeah, essentially, we don't need things to make sense when you're emotional minded. We don't need things to make sense. We just need it to sound good or feel good. And that's what actually makes sense to us. Being that way, thinking that way, does make sense to us. It's whatevs. Um. Anyway. So yeah, and so I can see how not only is she dealing with these two functional minded people, but being stuck in this situation, being institutionalized, makes everything more stressful, makes everything more, you know. Whereas, yeah, I guess that's my dish at home, or my napkin. Yeah, oh yeah, those are my napkins at home. But sure, whatevs. But in this place, no, these are my napkins. Those are my napkins. Don't touch them. Don't mess with mine. Situation, living in a situation like they did. Yeah, would institutionalize people. So now you're getting on top of everything else. These two people in her life that don't really make a whole lot of sense to her. She's also hitting her teenager years, so now we've got the hormones kicking in, so that's also going to add to it. And the fact that the body or the mind is saying, yeah, hormones up and down makes sense, but also does not make sense. That changing up and down, changing does not make sense. Yeah, I can see why she would have some negative thoughts on those two people. Now, her thoughts on her mother might have changed. The funny thing is if Anne had been able to grow up and everything, she would have actually found later on that her more functional minded mother would have been helpful, especially once Anne started having children of her own. She would have started finding out there's a reason to mom's madness, we'll say. There's a reason mom's kind of the way she is. As I understand, I think it was an arranged marriage between Mr. Frank and Mrs. Frank, those two, Anne's mom and dad. I think it was. I could be wrong. I don't know for sure. And that in itself could have been a little bit of a functionalizer. Dad rolled with it. He appreciated the woman that she was, and that she did the jobs that she had to do. She did them. What can you argue with? You want a life partner? Nobody's perfect, but she's doing the stuff she's supposed to do. She gave you children, she washed the dishes, she makes the food, whatevs. Well, what are you going to complain about, right? So he rolled with it. Who knows how the mom really felt? Not really sure on that one. But I think if Anne had been able to, live out her life, she would have found her mom to be, she might have still continued not making a whole lot of sense to her, but as time went by, she would have also found her to be helpful in that way. She would have found, just like a lot of us do, would have found something useful about having a more functional minded person around. It's wonderful to have your head in the clouds, but you can't make every decision with your head in the clouds, can you? But if you're the type of person who thinks that way, it's difficult to be able to sometimes step outside of that and think more functionally. So when Anne grew up and might have wanted to make, oh, I want to go to school here, but I'm also thinking about going to school here, going away this way or going away that way. The mother would have said, well, here's some things you may not have thought about, pointing out some facts that nobody else saw but her. So I think Anne would have found her to be more beneficial later on in life. I think being a kid, it's helpful to have, when you're emotional minded, having that more emotional minded person to kind of blah, blah, blah with, And then as a teenager, nobody's helping you. Everybody's helping you, but nobody's helping you. And then you become that young adult, and then you start really seeing people for, what they are, whatnot. Anyway, I'm going to end up doing a more official video on that because eventually DXLC, sorry, it's been a while, Franklin, I'm sorry, brain, asked me to do a video talking about people from the past. You know, how the emotional and functional affected people from the past, like particular people, which I gotta be honest, that's a really vague, very broad subject because you're like, what kind of people? Just anybody just in general, like the era thing I was talking about, how it's different eras. It seemed to be our world was more functionalized, and other places it's more emotionalized. And, you know, different times in history, or particular people, because that's a little bit of a question. In fact, actually, what I think it was 149 ish. I just realized I haven't even said hello, everybody, specifically to the people that are always like, hey, Robin, hey, Kyle, DXLC, Franklin, which and anybody else? You guys are like the main people who message, and that's what I should have started the video with. Hey guys, in particular you guys, because I know we might feel like I've kind of abandoned you, and I haven't. I'm still here, just going through my own stuff. I had my son moved out, and it's good and it's bad. I'm worried about him mentally. It's kind of like a make or break type situation at this time. You don't want to be overbearing, but at the same time, you don't want to be too detached. And unfortunately, I kind of am too detached. Same as my daughter. Gosh, I haven't seen her in months. Months and months and months. And the last time I saw her, she stopped by the house for like 2 minutes because she had to get a key from my brother's house. Because I guess she was taking care of his dogs while they were out of town. So she stopped by, got the key. I gave her a hug. Hi, how are you? Mm-hmm. That's it. Bye. Last time I saw her at the church festival over the summer. We talked I talked to her boyfriend longer than I talked to her. Because he was talking about his brother and how his brother's been having some mental issues. Anyway, yeah, I am for my own kids even. But anyway, okay, so I gotta stay on topic because it's wow, the days are passing. And I really didn't want this video to be super long. Kind of is though. Wondering if I should start a new one just so I can cover those other things. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Okay, so yeah, as far as she goes, blah 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 blah. They're functional minded. And functional minded do not always make sense to emotional minds, and emotional minded does not always make sense to functional minded. Especially in a more institutionalized situation like that, where it's very, and you're forced. Can't spread out. Can't anything. Anyway, I think Mr. Pfeffer would have been a lot better off if he had been able to have his woman to be with him. At least according to what they showed in the movie, they seemed to be compatible, and in that sense, his girlfriend, wife, fiance, whatever, future wife, would have actually helped him. Because a lot of times when it comes to functional minded, it's funny. I've seen quite a few of them on TV, like on court shows, where they just seem like they're aloof. They don't seem like they're attached to anything. They don't seem like they're really, like they have any kind of wherewithal at all. Like they don't awareness anything. And it's really funny because for as much as people are sitting there like, you just have your head in the clouds all the time. Nope, not the same. It looks like they have their head in the clouds because they're like staring off, right? So you'd think that they're just sitting there. No, quite a few of them are not. Emotional minded, head in the cloud. They're actually more functional minded. And they're detached from what's going on around them. They just are. It's not important to them. Not to be rude, not to be mean. Now, if you specifically request their attention in some way, they'll probably give it to you. But unless you request it, they're not. They're just going to stare away. They're do their own thing, whatever. Oh my goodness. I could explain this to the world better. If I could show people on TV instead of getting copyright blocked. It's one of the things that's been very frustrating. I've actually made other videos. They're on my phone because I've been trying not to do the computer thing because I need to give my dad his computer back. So I've actually made quite a few videos on my phone, but they're all copyright. Stupid. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Protecting people, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't make sense at the same time because my brain says, I'm high. I'm trying to help save the world. Okay? Don't get in my way. Give me whatever permissions, whatever I need to save the world. I should be the one person allowed to do whatever, say whatever, reverse whatever. Talk about up there. Woo-wee. Anyway, so if we're going to talk about Anne, I guess we should talk about Hitler. Now, I haven't looked him up. It's just the little bit that I know about him and the little bit that what was it? I don't know. I just see very similar patterns in other people. I don't want to offend anybody, but at the same time, I'm probably going to offend people. Why did he gas the people, the Jewish people? Why did he? So you can definitely see a very strong functionalizing going on in there. It's all or nothing type thinking. There's a lot more to it too. One of the videos that I made on my phone was about the Hitler thing. But I just want to point out one thing. If the goal is to eradicate the world of bad people, and they're not just bad people, they were born wrong. And I think this is one of the reasons why it messes with him so much. Because when he looks at them, he is looking at them as born wrong. He doesn't even give them the opportunity to convert. He doesn't look at them and say, you will convert or you will die. No, done. Plain and simple. The idea is to eradicate all the Jewish people because they were born wrong. Which tells me it has something to do with his parents, probably. Could be something else, but it's something that has to deal with the instinctual brain. Which, of course, there's also the God thing in the instinctual brain. I feel like there was something in particular that happened that made the Jewish people bad in his eyes. So not just, how do I put this? It's like, for example, you could look at it as the Jewish people were bad because, how do I put that? Well, it's kind of like the whole whites and blacks thing that's going on right now. There are children out there, white children out there, that are being told. I found this out, so it's hearsay, but they're being told that they should apologize for being white. Why? I'm not at all opposed to the idea of trying to rebalance the scales. I do understand that there was a lot of stuff that became very imbalanced because of the whole whites and blacks thing, and so it would be nice to balance the scales. But some things are just very unnecessary. In fact, you're not just telling that kid that they need to apologize for being born white. You're telling them they were born wrong. And if that child has any mental health issues later on in life, oh boy, you just opened the door for, well, a few different things, mostly instinctual. They could end up becoming a rapist. Yeah, wow, to that extreme. Murderer, yeah, to that extreme. Telling someone that they're born wrong, again, if you can't make sense of something forward, you can make sense of something backwards, right? The brain will do it. It's going to find a way. It will find a way to make sense of something. So now, here you've got this kid who grows up thinking, I was born wrong, I was born wrong, I was born wrong. And the brain now needs to make sense of this, finally finds a way by saying, I wasn't born wrong. The rest of the world is wrong. Right? We've heard that before. I'm not crazy. It's the rest of the world that's crazy. But we hear it in jest. Well, that's us saying it. What about when our brain is saying it? And then when our brain says it and says, oh, that makes sense. Now what's it going to do? Yeah. So good luck on that. Good luck on that whole making people apologize for being, yeah, oh boy. I heard that and I was just like, are you kidding? Do they have any idea what they're going to do to that kid? Oh, man. And it's so sad because let's say that this person becomes a serial killer and all they do is kill black people. Because now if you got to go one direction, now if you can't go one direction, it's the whole, if you can't be good, then you must be bad. Okay? So if growing up as a kid, you were wrong for being white, meaning you should have been black, we'll just say. Now it's got to be, that's how it is. It's not, any other skin color. Nope, that's too many variety. Nope. If you're wrong for being this, all because of this, so this becomes the opposite, right? Okay, so if you're wrong for being white, then that means you should have been black. Should have been black, right? So that makes wrong, white, right, black. Grow up, and now because the brain has to make sense of that, now it's death to all black because they were right, so now they're wrong. So now you have a serial killer on your hand that goes around killing all black people. And they have actually, here's the weird thing, behind that other curtain, they have no problem with black people. None. Not one. The real thing, people will finally put that person in jail and say, why do you hate black people so much? Why would you do that? And that person would not have an answer. Oh, they might give you an answer. Who knows? Whatever the brain decides to give you. But the truth is, no, they don't really have a problem with black people. There's this thing in their head that got stuck because it didn't make sense. And that's where the problem is. And it has nothing to do with black people, white people, yellow people, orange people, green people. It's just because it doesn't make sense. And it's stuck. And the brain had to find some way to make sense of it. And because there were some words that were used in the little issue that stuck, we'll just take those words and use them somehow. Black, white, whatevs. Well, anyway, I was talking about Hitler. So it wasn't just that Jewish people were wrong, they were born wrong in his mind. And again, very similar thing might have been, it might not have had anything to do with Jewish people being born wrong that actually started things in his head. It might have been something else. Again, I don't know his history, so I don't know. I haven't looked him up yet. And I might not. Who knows? But the brain has to make sense of things, especially when it comes to the instinctual brain. It needs, oh my goodness, it needs things to make sense. But like I said, the God thing's in there too. So then it's all about the Jewish and how they did wrong against God. I don't know. I'm trying to remember some of the different things I've heard over the years. Like I said, I already kind of made the video, but it's on my phone. And it can't be done because it's copyright, because the show is on in the background on TV. Jeez. I can't help it. When I do get the moment of being able to say something, I gotta just push record and forget what else is going on in my world. Which means if I turn the TV off, then it's like there's too much of a focus. Now it's too quiet. Anyway. So, here's the crazy thing. Hitler may have had nothing to do with the Jewish people. Ned had maybe had no problem. Sorry, pull my hair out here. Probably might have had no problem at all with Jewish people. There may have been something. That's the only thing I can think of, and of course, that's probably not going to be in the history books. That as a kid, he was crossing the street, and I don't know. It happened to be a Jewish person that ran over his dog. I don't know. Yeah, the thing is that sometimes the brain has to have an enemy. It has to have something it can take the blame off of us and put it on someone else, right? This is why you'll hear people that'll sit there and say, well, yeah, I did do that. But because of so-and-so, but it was because of this person doing this. Our brains do that. And it's actually not a bad thing. Our brains, I believe, are supposed to be able to do that. And the reason why is because when you put blame on yourself, it becomes sometimes a very strong focus. And depending upon what's going on, it could become a very strong overfocus. And that overfocus can put you down. Because you're not just focused on you, you're focused on you and then over-focused on you. It's just right. And I mean, our brains are supposed to be like that. We're supposed to think of, what do they call it? In psychology, my hair's not looking very good now. I used that stuff and it looked really nice. No, anyway, it's bothering me because it's all like, yeah. Anyway, the id, the super id, I don't know, whatever it's called. That thing, it's very similar to that type of thinking I'm thinking. I don't know. I've never studied it, but it's not just self, it's over self. It's supposed to be like that. When we think of ourselves, we are supposed to kind of overthink ourselves. That's okay. We're supposed to, because we are ourselves. We are responsible for our continuing in this world of survival. We're responsible for, that's what it comes down to. I mean, we're responsible for our kids. We're responsible for our spouses. But when it really comes down to who are we truly, 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 truly responsible for ourselves. This is why anything we do for ourselves, for or against, becomes a focus, but because there's already, when it comes to ourselves in general, there's already that focus. So then when it comes to doing something for or against ourselves, it becomes an over focus. Does that make sense? Might be a little confusing. Anyway, I mean, it's just like if you write a book and you think, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. All the romantic scenes are so romantic, and all the fighting scenes are so and you're just like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the greatest book. Like this is gonna be on the New York bestsellers list for hundreds of years. It's gonna be up there with the Bible. Before you think, oh, that's big of you, don't think your brain doesn't think that. It does, whether you're aware of it or not. Because what's the top book? Anytime you look it up, what's the most sold book in the world? What's the most popular book? What's the most famous book? Blah, blah, blah. It's always the Bible. It's the top, it's the best, right? And since it would be just too much to say that you're better than the Bible, not to say some people's brains might not think that themselves. Yeah, I can see that. I think I've thought that about my stuff too. Like it'll be up there with the Bible, maybe more. No, no. Like as soon as you think it, you're like, no, 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 no. But it's up there though. Top, best. That functional, self-focused. Yeah. But of course, then you have a friend read it, and you're thinking they're gonna like be like, oh my gosh, that one scene where they're just together, oh, it's so beautiful, it's so romantic. And you're like, what'd you think about that? And they're like, it was cool. Yeah, it was cute. Yeah. You're like, what? Really cute? No, 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 no. It wasn't just cute. It was great. It was amazing. So of course we're gonna think of our stuff whenever we do something like write a book or something. We're gonna think it's even more than it really is because that's our focus and it's our over focus. Okay, now, but that's in a positive state. Now think about it in a more negative state. See how it's going under. See how it's going into depression and suicide and all that. Yes, 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 yes. So anyway, unless he had some kind of a personal issue that happened, like I said, like it would happen to be a Jewish person that ran over his dog, now he's got an enemy. Now he's got something he can focus on. At some point in his life, this particular type of person hurt him in a very doesn't make sense way. It was an accident. It was actually him as a kid. His dog, he should have been on a leash, and it wasn't. And that's his fault. But he's a kid. He doesn't understand that. All he can think of is you, because of you, my dog is gone. So you are the enemy. Now, growing up in a normal type situation, the information would be in the brain, but would it get used? We'll say they grew up in a normal situation and their life was generally normal from there on out. No, probably wouldn't get used. Wouldn't. But that's not the case for him. As I understand, he did not have the greatest childhood or something about it. In fact, he was compared to Charlie Chaplin. I actually did look him up. I figured his stuff out too. Circus? That's his mom. Just saying. I don't even know anything about it. My brain says so. And it was so funny because it was after the circus thing that some of the stuff started happening to him. So, trying to think of what that was. What was I saying? Yeah, there were some similarities between the two of them. And that was brought up in the article. It was Wikipedia. And that was brought up that at one point he was very similar to Hitler in some of the things he had gone through. I don't know. All I can say is that at some point something got stuck. Somehow or another he made, whether it was because a personal thing with the Jewish people or it could have been a religious thing. A lot of times religious stuff could be shoved down people's throat, and it wasn't just religion, it was specific stuff about religion. It's so and so's fault for this type thing. That may not have been worded that way necessarily, but to continuously say over and over again, or to put the brain to put one and one together over and over again, that it was the Jewish people that did this. The greatest man type thing that to ever live type thing. Here we go again with that very high, top thinking. God's not been on earth, but Jesus has, and Jesus is, as God, and da 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 da. So it's one and the same. Wow, tail, dog chasing tail, just saying. Um, because of that, and because it's something about the instinctual brain, it's going to go after different items that are in the instinctual brain. One of which is religion. And so that's one of the reasons why the religion might have been brought into it. So when the brain, for whatever reason, was looking for a bad person, someone to take, that's what I was telling you about the blame thing. But looking for someone to take the blame off of oneself, put it on somewhere, or put it on something to make it, we can't find the bad guy out in the world, so we need to create one, that kind of thing. Because the world's messed up, it's screwed up. So why is it messed up? So now we got to find the reason why it's messed up, so we can fix it. We can eradicate the world of that. So it's their fault that the world is screwed up like this. He was going for the Aryan bloodline and all that stuff. So he's trying to, again, here we go with that functional thinking. Pure blood. One. Only one. All that type of, oh my goodness, you can definitely see an overboard of that. And the funny thing is that he may not have had any problem. Curtain behind the curtain had no problem with Jews. Jewish people. Absolutely no problem with them. Now, one of the reasons I say that is because I know there was definitely some confusion. Even when he got into power and was doing what he was doing, I know there was some major confusion. Because I say that, again, if you want to eradicate the Jewish people from the world because they're the bad ones, they were born bad, right? And they were born bad, which means that there is no converting. You can't change something that was meant to be a certain way, right? He didn't even give them the option to convert. If being Jewish was the bad thing, didn't even give them the option to convert. Nope, all or nothing. Functional thinking. Here we go again. Then why did he have the concentration camps? Now, I don't know all the science behind everything. I don't know if his scientists looked at him and said, look, we can only run the gas chambers only so many times. As that stuff gets into the air, it'll start killing the German soldiers around it. It'll start killing everything around it. So you can only run it so many times, or you can only, I don't know. Because if you ask me, if I was doing what he said he was doing, wouldn't you have just gassed them all as soon as you got a hold of them? He wasn't holding on to anyone specifically. We were killing off the men, women, and children. It does make functional sense to keep, say, the stronger ones for working, doing your job. I mean, from a business sense, it makes sense to, instead of having to pay people to push those rocks, you can enslave people to push those rocks. So in a sense, it does make sense to keep people alive for that reason. But again, if you're eradicating the world, if the whole point is to get rid of the evil, the bad of the world, don't you just eradicate them? Don't you just do away? So why did he keep them? Why did he keep camps where basically they were just this is where his brain shows the conflict, the concentration camps themselves. He did not know what to do with them. It's almost like when we go forward to do something and we feel good about it, we feel like we're right in our decision, and we do move forward, and yet there's some part that kind of holds back, that we don't go forward on, that we don't quite move on with. I'm trying to think of a scenario to give people, but I can't. Does not make sense in his brain. He put those people in the concentration camp the same way that Charlie Chaplin, when, who was it? He didn't marry her. It was his secretary. Stuff was not doing so well in his life. And he had this secretary. that the company he worked with had hired. And instead of saying, "I want her gone," he had a problem with her. I can't remember what it was. What was the problem? Shoot, it's been some days since I read this thing. He had some problem with her. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, for a whole summer, he just didn't go into work. He just detached because of that one thing. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, again, I have not done any research. I could change my mind later. Who knows? But if I'm not mistaken, that's what those concentration camps were. They were him detaching. He did not know what to do with them. It's like one minute you know, and the next minute you don't. And then the next minute you know again. You see the conflict? I'm doing the right thing, but killing is wrong. I'm doing the right thing, but killing is wrong. Again, I state, I don't think he had a problem with Jewish people at all. Curtain behind the curtain. Anyway, moving on. Michael Jackson. I didn't study him either. I didn't look him up. I happened to be on YouTube. I was looking for music, and on the TV, because we were baking cookies, and I thought, well, we could have some music in the background. And I saw a couple. I think some Michael Jackson songs came up, and Benji's like, "Oh, let's listen to that one." So we did. And then after that came on this video, something about something in the tomb of Michael Jackson. I don't know. Watch this whole video here. Oh, I hate that. I hate that. Do you know how badly your brain feels so lied to? You don't even realize it. You don't. And more importantly, you don't realize what it's actually doing to your brain. You go on YouTube and you see this video, and it says, amazing story, like the Michael Jackson thing, something found in his tomb, or something about his tomb in 2025. They're opening it up. 2024, whatever it was. Yeah. So you're thinking, oh my goodness. And they say you got to watch the whole video to get to it. And you watch the whole video. Nothing about it. How lied to do you feel? I mean, how, yeah. Or when you see a picture of a video, and on the picture you're like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. Yeah, I'll watch that video. I want to find out about that. And you never see that picture again. The title they use, what was it? Oh, shoot. I watched a video one time because the title, it's one of those titles. How Dawn Soap Ruined My Hair. I don't know. I'm just throwing that one out there. There isn't a video that I know of. There isn't a video. I was explaining to my mom though, and I was like, it's like watching a video, and you're like, oh my gosh, Dawn Soap ruined her hair for life. Ruined my hair forever. Okay, we use those big key words. Ruined forever. Okay. It dried it out, and then they got a conditioner and they fixed it. It's fine now. Why did you say Dawn Soap ruined your hair forever? That's not fair. You're lying to me. You want to know why mental health is on the rise? That's one of the big ones, believe it or not. Those little teeny tiny ways that we're being lied to. Well, if we're being lied, doesn't that mean that there's other ways? Well, doesn't that mean we can't trust? And if you can't trust, then doesn't that mean you can't trust anything? Not just this or this or this, but remember, when the brain is doing that, it's going into that functional side. It's the top, it's the best, it's the most, it's number one, it's all or nothing. That means we can't trust anyone. Now, of course, my words are falling on deaf ears because most people are like, oh, it's not that big a deal. I watch videos like that all the time. I don't feel that way. Wait till you have some mental health issues. Wait till something comes along in your little world that does not make sense and it messes with you. It hurts and it doesn't make sense. So it's affecting both sides of the brain. It's getting stuck. Now you're going to find out how much those little videos don't affect you. Them lying to you, they don't affect you. Watch. All those commercials that you see where someone says, I did everything right, but an institution that had my money or whatever, they didn't. You could do nothing and still be a victim of identity theft. You could do everything right. Shred your paperwork, da da da, all that, and still become an identity theft person. What was the other one? Oh shoot, there was the scammers calling people, the AI. Help! I'm your grandchild. I'm in another country or whatever. I'm being held ransom. You got to send money. Da da da. All that stuff. We laugh at it. We make fun of it. But for as much as you think, you're watching that commercial and you're going, oh man. And you think, oh, the commercial's over. I'm over it. No, you're not. Nope. You might be, but your brain's not. Because one of your brain's jobs is to protect you, to keep you safe, to be on guard. And so now it's taken that information of that commercial or that show, or whatever, and it's saved it for a rainy day. And now it's stuck in your head. Maybe it'll be a bad thing, maybe not. All depends. But as mental health is increasing, and even people that do not actually have mental health issues, oh, that's odd. Huh, where's that coming from? Good figure. Yeah, you're going to start seeing this. You're not going to see it, though. Your brain's not going to say, I suddenly can't trust anybody, that I have to be isolated in this world. And it's all because of that commercial that I saw 2 years ago. It's not going to say that to you. It's not going to tell you that's one of the reasons why it's doing that. Yeah. So, that said, it's amazing what gets stuck in our head. Anyway, Michael Jackson. Let me try and be quick about this. So that video came on. I'm actually not upset about watching the video itself. It was decent. But I will never watch it again, and I'll never watch anything that person ever puts out again because I was lied to. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. From what I understand, Michael Jackson had a little brother. Or not a little brother. What little brother? Michael Jackson's the youngest. Before him was another baby. Now, I don't know the specifics. I don't know if it died in childbirth. I don't know if it died while she was pregnant. I don't know after birth. I don't know. But it didn't make it. So one of his brothers is dead. That's what did it. All the way through. If you look at all the issues that he has after that, they're instinctual. The skin color thing, people were saying that he's bleaching his skin to become more white. Whether he was doing it on purpose or not, whether he realized he was doing it on purpose or not, you could see how someone's skin is part of their identity, right? I mean, when we look at a person, that's what we see is their skin. That's instinctual. The molestation thing, that's instinctual. As far as that goes, I don't think it was. I see why people think it was. Makes sense. And it could have turned into that. And it may have turned into it. But when it first started, nope. Okay. I'm going to give you 2 different machines. And I want you to take them apart and tell me how they work. Here's the difference. One machine has been running for 50 years. It's never been cleaned. Neither machine's been cleaned. One's 50 years old. One's 5 years old. And they've been running the whole time. Never cleaned. All the oils, dust, particles, blah, 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 all that. If you had to take apart one of those machines, if you had to pick one to take apart to see how the machine works and to get a clearer picture, which machine would you pick? The 5-year-old one, right? So essentially, not that some people haven't found ways to do so, we won't go there, but we can't take people apart to understand them, to figure them out. But our brain does find ways, or at least tries to. And the most pure, innocent, clearest, closest to the original machine type thinking is a child, which is why kids oftentimes get picked on when it comes to the brain trying to figure things out. Adult brain trying to figure things out. They can be used sexually, physically abused, and it's all, I won't say it's all because I'm being too broad, I guess. Oftentimes, that's all it is. That's all it starts out as, almost like a curiosity. Once the brain kind of determines that it really can't figure something out from, messing with a child, talking to a child, it'll move on sometimes. There are. This is a tough subject because I know there's pedophiles out there, and they think they were born that way. Again, here we go with that instinctual brain. If something gets moved in the instinctual brain suddenly because it's the origins place, it's always been that way. It's always been moved that way. No, it hasn't. But we think it is. Not sure how to explain this without sounding wrong. A lot of people, okay, so I know some people that have been accused of being pedophiles or having like a pedophile like behavior feeling about them. I've known people that have had that. And they're not. They're actually not. I know why people are saying that about them. And the sad thing is that sometimes the only reason why sometimes some people become that way is because other people have said that. If I can't be good, I must be bad. It's kind of that same thinking, but now it's, if people tell me that's what I am, then that's what I must be, right? And if there's something else the brain is trying to figure out, then it might use that as a way of trying to figure it out. Because again, especially when it comes to children, they're the closest, the purest form, the machine in its simplest state. If you really want to be able to take a person apart, that's one of the ways to do it. is to go back to a very basic state. And again, I don't know for sure how far he went, if it actually did become pedophile behavior. It may have just started out, oftentimes, I believe it starts out as just a simple curiosity type thing. It's not how do you explain that? Because the moment you say it, a little touchy, well, touchy how? What do you mean by that? Touchy where? It's very difficult to explain, but there's just this little bit of extra attention that's involved. It's not actually sexual. It's like seeing something new and different for the first time. And instead of just reaching out and grabbing it and touching it, you kind of stand back and look at it and you kind of examine it a little bit. So think of it kind of like that. The brain goes through like a period of time where it's like trying to look at it. Oh, I want to look at it. Before I open it, I want to look at it all the different angles. I'm going to try and check it out. It's kind of like that. Sometimes, like I said, the brain says this doesn't make sense, or it just doesn't make sense to go any further with it. It's different for everybody. I'd have to know more information about him to be able to say a little more clearly on that. I don't know how far he took it, but I can see the possibility of it. And I can see the possibility of it moving on to a little bit more of again, this is an interesting step back. Okay, now I'm going to kind of go like that. Move the bow a little. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm gonna look at. Oh, okay. I'm looking under that. It's just. I haven't actually opened it. I haven't actually gotten my hands all over it and anything. Just kind of moving it around, turning it so I can see the other side of it. I gotta manipulate it a little bit to be able to get an idea of what you're looking at. So it's kind of like that. And as time goes by, it progresses a little bit. This is one of the reasons why you'll see people who will start out a crime and they start out like this, and it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it goes, over time it gets bigger and bigger. But at first it starts out this little thing because it's just the brain saying, "I'm curious. I gotta." And then as time goes by, I gotta turn it this way. I gotta lift this. I gotta. I'm still trying to figure this out. I think maybe this is my answer, so I just got to keep going on this path. But at the same time, my brain is also saying, "No, this isn't right." It's a conflict. Here we go again. Conflict in the brain. Yeah, I think this is my answer, but at the same time, it's also not right. But I've got it. Here we go again. Life or death. I need an answer. My brain needs an answer to this. Why did I live and my brother die? What was special about me that God said, no, yes. Here's my mom. Yes to this birth. Yes to this child. Yes to this child. No. Yes. It's like what do you call it? Survivor's remorse, or whatever they call that. Survivor's guilt, not remorse. They're guilt. When you survive something and someone else didn't, then you feel, guilt because of that. It's very similar to that type thinking, but it's instinctual, so it's deeper. What was it about me that made it okay for me to be alive, but not my brother? What did he do? Did he do something? Did I do something? What? You see all these questions? It can happen. And I believe that is the fire starter for him. Now, from there, other stuff happened. I don't know. I know there's been speculation about his parents being abusive or taking all their money or his sibling. This is one of the reasons why I'm like, I'd love to look it up, but at the same time, nope. I don't want to get all that in my head. I'm pretty sure I'm right. My brain says I am. He lost his brother, and he doesn't know why, and his brain's been searching for the answer ever since. There are things that happen that end up, a lot of times those kind of questions, especially during the childhood, stay in the back of the head because one way or another, or we make sense of it, or because a trusted parent looks at us, or a trusted person looks at us and says, "You're too young to understand, but you will when you're older." Oh, so then we push it to the back of the head, and that's where it stays until something comes along that makes us spring clean. And now our brain says, "No, I got to figure this out now. I need to figure this out now." There might be little hiccups throughout the years, but until that time, it kind of hangs out dormant. It's there, but it's just kind of dormant. And then something happens, and now all of a sudden, ta. Hmm, tough to say, especially because even if I did look up on Wikipedia or even on a more very specific site about Michael Jackson, I still might not find the answers that I would need to be able to answer certain questions. Hmm. But that's what did it. And when he died, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. How do I say this? What if I told you it was on purpose? You know how he was working on the album This Is It? I think that was what it was called. What if that was his brain's way of saying, "I'm done"? It didn't finish the album though. And so then you have to be like, what? Well, that's the same as what with Jeffrey Dahmer. He didn't finish his table. Supposedly he needed this table to be done. So why would he turn himself in? He didn't turn himself in. Why would his brain sabotage him? Why would his brain say, "We need this for completion," but at the same time say, "We're done"? I have a feeling. I know. There's a doctor that's been um, not indicted. What do you call that? The arrested, found guilty, whatever. And maybe it's true. I don't know. But then again, maybe what if our brains are pretty powerful things? I know my brain has been able to recreate medicines that I'm not actually currently on. What if his could too? What if he, like brain fog type moment, somehow, you know, stored some of the medicine so then the next time the doctor gave him his next dose, now he had two doses? I don't know. It's hard to say. It's tough to say. I don't know the whole story. But what if? Could you imagine if he had stayed alive? I mean, amazing. All right. All right. 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 Could you imagine for him? No, something had changed. You can see it in his face. I can't. I don't know. Maybe other people can't. But something had changed. Some light had come into the light, we'll say. I don't know what he figured out, but I have a feeling that his death was meant to be ish, planned. It's possible. I could be wrong, but it's possible. I don't think he'd be very happy if he was alive still. Like going through the paces. I'm here, but I'm not here. He would have made the best of it because that was the type of person he was. And the emotional and the functional, that's a toughie. Because again, I see some function. I want to say emotional minded. Or not emotional minded. Which one did I say? I don't know. There's some things from his childhood that definitely suggest functional minded. Something about a snowball fight. It wasn't just no, I don't want snow on me. It's I can't get snow on me. I was explaining it to my dad actually yesterday in the car. The difference between, for as much as it, what is it? We were talking about when he and my mom were dating and how she wanted to go to different restaurants because this restaurant has the milkshakes you like, and this one has the French fries, and this one has the sauce you like, and this one has. So it could never just be one restaurant, which seems very emotional. And normally, if that was it, it stopped at that. These two people out on a date, they were just going to a different restaurant. I would say that's definitely emotional minded, or more emotional. It's both, but it's more emotional. Mm-mm. No, because it wasn't. I want to. It's I need. I have to have the sauce from that place. And it wasn't just two people on a date excitedly going on an adventure, just doing this for silly. It was one person saying, "This is what I need," and the other person just going along with it. There's a difference. My dad and I had a pretty nice conversation yesterday about stuff. Like, I felt like he was actually kind of like listening, not just hearing, but listening to me when I was talking about the emotional and the functional. We were going back through, because I told mom the other day, I was like, she said something, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's tough. Sometimes, the average person is very close to the 50-50. You can't really tell which side is stronger a lot of times than the other. So, and especially if there's any kind of mental health stuff that can be switching them up. So I was trying to figure them out, and I told her, I said, I still try to, figure out which of the two of you were more emotional and which was more functional. Um, and the reason I said that was because I was asking if I borrow the car so I could go get Terry for the funeral, and and I said, um, I know that you and my brother will be after she goes to church. They go out to eat, and then they go grocery shopping for my sister because she can't leave her home. She can't go grocery shopping. She can't go to certain places because of the mass sell thing. Um, like being allergic to everywhere or a lot of different places, I should say, just to give a visual type idea. Um, so I'm not asking to borrow the car so I can go get my hair done, something I could do anytime, right? I could schedule it anytime. I'm asking to use it for a funeral. And what was it? And she said, well, on Saturdays because it's the weekend, we usually go out to eat like 20 minutes. It's going to be like 20 or 30 minutes this way driving, or it's 20-30 minutes this way driving. You know, these local restaurants all over the place. But it's this place or it's this place, and I'm thinking. So I'm looking at it, and the way I've started looking at it is I compare not just what she's saying now to if that's emotional or functional, but I'm actually comparing them. Okay, if Dad was sitting here, if I was saying the same thing to him, what would he say? So I'm sitting here saying, I need to use the car or whatever, and I was saying what they could do was I would go pick up Terry, bring her back to the house, and then when my mom um, got out of church, then we would go pick her up, and they would drop us off at the funeral because, like I said, it's right here in the hometown. And then we would just, the funeral visitations at 10, the memorials at 11. So roughly, about, they'd be finished eating, and then they could be coming back into town to do the shopping for my sister. We just, the idea is that maybe it'd be better to stay local. You guys do this every weekend. It's not like it never happens. You guys go out to eat, actually almost every day. But it's one of those things where you're just like, do you mind Mhm. And you almost feel like, here we go again. You almost feel like that person is going to understand your needs, which are slightly stronger. Let's look at the difference here. Go to the restaurant that we, you know, want to go to versus just any restaurant, or this person having the car for the funeral, right? I mean, right? Okay. And so, of course, most people would, including me, look at the situation and go, that's a little bit more important as far as, who should change their stuff up kind of thing, which one of us should change. Granted, it's her car and all that other stuff, right? So, but you see how sometimes we have to roll with it, change things up, adapt. So I'm thinking she's going to look at me and say, well, we'll just stay local. She didn't. And I was looking at her, I started smiling because I was like that's why my brain did the thing where it was with my dad. My dad would have said that. He would have said, well, then we'll just stay local, or, he would have actually worked it out more to that my favor. Not just worked it out so that I got what I needed, but even more in my favor. He would have found a way to kind of do that. So the ability to adapt, to change plans, that's, here's my mom. This is what makes sense to me. We go out, this is my car. So by law, it's her car, her call. This is what we plan to do. This is what we do. This is our setup. We don't change it. So in order to change it, I mean, I could go into. I've like I said, ever since I started doing that, I've started really realizing how many ways in which my mom is, and this is going to sound wrong when I say it this way, but it's just what it is. How my mom is. This is the way things are. She's more selfish in that sense, that things need to stay the way that makes sense to her, and it's not all her fault, because I can see some, like I said, I can see some of the mental health from like when she was younger and stuff, still messing with her, and how it kind of made her a little more functional than she should be. She's actually a little bit more functional than she should be, which means she just gets stuck a little bit more than she normally would. She might have still, and let's say in a normal situation, I come to her and I say that to her, and I say, well, maybe you guys could be local, and then it might take her a moment to go, okay, yeah, we can do that. You would see the pause, and you would see that hesitation in her. You would see the not just, oh yeah, we'll do that, yeah, no, okay, yes, we'll do that. There's actually, like I said, it's the same thing. Let go, roll with it, kind of thing, is the same as detach, in the sense it's the same type of process, but the steps to it are different. Detach means you're already here, so now you have to detach, as opposed to roll with it, which is almost like where you're kind of like, it's like window shopping, like you're rolling past and you're like, oh, I like that, but then you're still rolling on, you're still going. So it's like a continuous go. It's no big deal, you just roll with it. There's actually a difference between those two. And so in a normal situation with her, that's probably what would have happened. As soon as I would have said, well, you guys could, eat more local, stay more local, she, you would see the doesn't make sense. Have to step outside that and then switch to it. Okay, now we are changing. We are detaching from the original and changing to something for someone else, for my daughter to go to a funeral. That makes sense. My daughter, I care about her, help her out, right? Da, 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 da. Outside of oneself, right? You would see that to come out. But instead, because there is that little bit more overage, and it's also partially my fault too. The overage is there, but that's, you know, we're not pointing fingers. We're not making anybody sound bad or good or anything. Just simply pointing out this is what is. But that little bit of extra functional on that, is what makes it. And I can't until I actually say. I didn't say, when I said, well, you could stay more local. That's not a request. That's a suggestion. Now, if I had requested and said, Mom, can you please go to this restaurant or this restaurant, please? That is actually requesting. And then she would have gone, I'll talk to your brother. He's not, he actually would be a little bit more roll with it. She's saying, I need to talk to your brother because he is involved. So he's the other party. So even though we already know the answer is going to be, yeah, that's fine for him, still have to do that by law, respect, he's involved. So she would do that. And that's also a way of her brain being able to make sense of the change. Being able to not have to say, yes, we will do that. Okay, yes, we will make that change. That still isn't really what we want to do. That doesn't really make sense to us, but we'll do it. Yeah, to be able to kind of roll with it a little bit. How do I say that? To be able to accept her own brain, to accept the change, helps to be able to put that like buffer in there. It's like giving them an extra few seconds to make sense of something by saying, I'll talk to so and so. You'll notice that sometimes when you're talking to a more functional person and they have things set up a certain way, but you need them to change it for whatever reason. When they do agree to it, there's always got to be some kind of a condition. There always has to be some kind of a little involved. And it's not a bad condition. Like I said, my brother is involved. He's the one going out to eat. So then, of course, he's involved in the decision, right? So it does kind of make sense. But it's something that more functional minded brains oftentimes do when there is a hesitation, there's a pullback. It's I don't want to say it's another step of why should I, but it's kind of. And for as much as it's like, well, why would you say why should I now? You've already said, okay, yes, we'll do that. I'll need to talk to your brother. So then why would you be questioning even after that? You've made the decision basically. Why would you? Because that's sometimes what has to happen, especially when it comes to people who are over functionalizing. It's not just the detaching. It's now having to, how do I put that? Because detaching means final. It's done. Okay. No, now we actually have to do an extra step to kind of emotionalize us again, to kind of bring the la back into the decision, back into the situation, I should say. And by saying, yes, it makes an alternative, because if my brother did for some reason say, no, I have to go, I'm part of some pancake eating contest or whatever this weekend, I have to go. It gives them an out. That's true. I know that's what some people are thinking. So that's part of it. But it's also because it enables some of that emotion back into things, to be able to connect emotionally to the situation, to be able to. I'm explaining this all wrong. I think it's because I haven't eaten all day and I'm getting hungry. My stomach's even sitting here going, ah. Think of it just like a pause. That's the best way to explain it. It's like a little pause. It's like giving that person that little bit of extra around them. You've just closed in their bubble space like this, and by them being able to say something like, well, I'll check with your breath. I'll do such a, making that little condition, it gives them a little bit more breathing room. Okay, done. I know I put John Tesh in there in the description. There's really not too much to say on that one. I was going to contact him. I guess I'm not now. I think my brain's a little bit detached from it now. And that's because I tried calling some number connected to him. And I started leaving a message trying to explain. He does radio shows. And a couple months back, he did one where I don't know. Trying to think of something for your life. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, he does these radio shows, and it's like I catch him every once in a while when I happen to be in the car driving to go pick up one of the kids or whatever. And it's something health for your life or life for your health. Or I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway, the question was, or the issue, the thing he was talking about was 18 to 25-year-olds are hiring life coaches instead of therapists. And, and that was all brought up. And I know why. I know why it's 18 to 25-year-olds, and I know why they're doing the therapists instead, or the life coaches instead of the therapists. I mean, I don't know. I know it all. I know all the answers to it. And so I was trying to contact them, him and his people, whatever, because I've had difficulty writing it. I was going to just write an email and just send it to him and be done with it. But I've had difficulty writing it. And the reason why, here's the big reason why. Well, the big reason why is because I still don't know if my theory is correct or not, like by law, fact, correct. There's the big reason why. But the other big reason why is because there's no request. If somebody actually requested that I share that information, then it's different. Then I can do it. Otherwise, why should I? Do I need to? No. Well, then I'm not going to. It's like all the other stuff I got to do. The Amazon returns. Why should I? Do I need to do it right now? Right now? No. Okay. Then why should I? Not. Nope. I mean, it needs to be done at some point. I should really get them ready. But why should I? Do I have to right here, right now? What is right here, right now? Do I need to? Nope. Okay, then. Not happening. So anyway, yeah, that's why I can't. So when it comes to that, that's why I wanted to include that. Because it was really upsetting. It was really bothering because I called and I started leaving a message, and I have no proof of anything. But I feel like I was hung up on. Like somebody pushed the button on the answering machine and turned it off. Like, what in the world is this girl going on about? Click off. And I dropped my phone to the floor. Not I didn't drop it. It's kind of like a drop throw. When you're upset and you're just like, I got to get this out of my hands. All or nothing. That phone doesn't make sense. It's not the phone that's not making sense. It's what happened on the phone. But suddenly the phone becomes the bad guy, right? I started crying because it's just like, I don't, didn't know. But anyway, I was defeated for a couple minutes, crying, upset, and I thought, nope, we're not giving up. We're going to keep moving forward. Okay, we're not going to call anything involving that. Well, we're going to call the autism thing. And that's when I called Autism Speaks. And I left the message. And the person didn't hear the message. The person who called me back, they did not listen to the message. I guess they just got like a list of names and numbers that they were supposed to call back and talk to people. Because I told the girl on the phone, I said, did you listen to the message? And she said, well, I heard some of it. Yeah, she heard the enough part where it says my name and my number. And then she clicked off, Can't blame them. It's okay. I understand. And I told her, I said, well, yeah. I was telling you about autistic people and why they gravitate towards water. Some of them gravitate towards water. Like they gravitate towards water. There's something about water. Oh my goodness. Could it be first impressions matter to them and in the functional brain of theirs? And what was the first thing they ever encountered in this world? Amniotic fluid. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Also gonna come explain to them why they're so quiet. The ones that don't communicate. Why? Why can't they communicate? Their brain is that functional. Mm. Anyway, so that's the whole thing on John Tesh. But now I've got that bad taste in the mouth, from that whole incident. And even though it's not his fault, at this time, I'm not doing it. Why should I? It's been months now. Mm, mm, Detach. What was the other one? Petersen, Jordan Peterson. Now, it was not too long, a little while back, that I was going to contact him because I figured out what's wrong with him. Yeah, shrink the shrink, right? So my mom and I are talking one day, and she's the one who's seen videos of his. I've seen a couple now. One of which YouTube blocked away. Stupid. Not just. It wasn't even. I don't even think they didn't even say anything about copyright. They just won't even let me access it. Oh my gosh! But I think I know why. I'm talking about Kamala Harris, Trump, Biden. Um, what's the other ones? There's a few other political people. Robert Kennedy, Junior Kennedy, whatever his name is. Bush. I actually did look up Bush that night on George Bush and Herbert Walker Bush. All the found some connections, and I said them online. And I'm thinking it's locked. It's still there, but I cannot access it. Not in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. Maybe I stumbled upon something and somebody wants me to But they think, oh, nobody listens to her anymore. It's okay. It's true. Mostly true. Anyway, my mom and I were talking, and she mentioned, I said, after seeing a video or two of his, I said, he's like me. Can't stop talking. Like whether he's talking by himself or he's interviewing someone. Now talking by yourself, it's a little, obviously you have to control the screen. They have to do it all. But when you're interviewing someone, talking to someone else, you kind of have to have give and take. There was no give and take. the girl got to tell a little bit of her stuff, and from there, like bam, and he owned that screen all the way through the rest of the video. And I do the same thing. If I was talking to someone else, I would do the same thing. And there's a reason why we're doing that. Our brain's doing it on purpose. It's searching. I shouldn't say it's doing it on purpose. I mean, but it is. I mean, it's searching. It's searching. Now, my mom and I are talking. I said, I mean, he talks like me. Like he's got to own that screen, and I'm thinking that's just the way he is, because there are some people that are just like that, It didn't seem like necessarily bad about him. When you're a well-known, what do you call them, authority on something, that's what you do. You talk, right? You tell people that's what they pay for, right? To hear you. So yeah, I guess it makes sense, kind of. But then my mom, I felt like he was a little bit more controlling than he should have been, but that could have just been my own thing. But then my mom, she said, yeah, his earlier videos, he doesn't do that as much. Oh, really? So come to find out, at some point he was sick. And also his wife was sick too. Not the same thing. I think she had breast cancer or something. I don't know what he had, but it was something. But apparently my mom said that before that he was a little, a little more user friendly, we'll say. Even my therapist, I talked to her, the one I'm not seeing her now, but the one I had a few months back that I was trying to talk to about this stuff. I said something to her about Jordan Peterson. She said, and she did it in one of those ways where you're just like, you're not telling me the whole truth. Yeah, he's difficult to follow. A little, well, yeah, sometimes a little difficult to follow. More like I can't remember how she said it, but basically I was left with the feeling of no, you don't watch him because he's difficult to follow completely. Sometimes we tone it down. Like, well, occasionally he's difficult to follow. Yeah, do you watch him? Oh no, that's why, because you just can't follow him. Period. Stop. It's not every once in a while he'll talk about something that's a little difficult to follow, but other than that, he's okay. Nope, that was not said. So she doesn't listen to him because he's difficult to follow. I wonder why he's difficult to follow. Also found something. What was it? He converted to Christianity or Catholic Catholicism or something. I don't know. Something about religion also happened at the same time. And now here's tea leaves. Oh my. So off the get-go there, the fact that the religion was involved tells me it could be something instinctual. Well, there was something else. She said a couple other things. I can't think what they are now. But, it gave me the, what do you call it? It gave me the feeling of, the instinctual more. See, my brain is like, shut up, you need to eat, lady. It gave me the instinctual more, the feeling of something, affected him. I'm thinking about, well, of course, it could have been something from his childhood. That's possible. That's very possible. Or, get this, his daughter's sick. She's been dealing with something since, I guess she was born with it, maybe, whatever it is. And it's something, I don't know. Again, here I am. I should really do some research. Why should I? Do I know for a fact that anyone's even going to hear it? No. No, it's not happening. But his daughter was sick at some point, and I mean she's still sick, but whatever it is, she's learned to deal with. Blah blah blah, whatever. She's good. She's fine. Now, timing wise, I don't know why the timing was chosen this way, but it's very possible that what happened to him. So we are strong creatures. We look at ourselves and think, I don't get sick all that often, or I never get sick. Even though we do, we still say to ourselves sometimes, oh, I never get sick, because we just think of ourselves as strong, virile people. So when something comes along, like we have a child that has a flaw, something that doesn't seem so strong or virile, we can't help but sometimes question why. Not us. I mean, maybe we do on the outside question it, but on the inside, in the brain. Did I do that to my child? Why were they born that way? Now, here's the thing. Again, here we go with the self-focus. Because it takes two to make a baby. But sometimes we get stuck on, it's almost as if our brain completely forgets there's that other person. So it looks at anything that child is dealing with as being something from us specifically. Now, I don't know if it's just because of self, or if it's because, when you've been married to someone, it's almost like, you two become one, right? So it's almost like they don't exist because they two became one in the brain. It's weird. Anyway, it all depends upon the relationship, all that stuff. But anyway, for whatever reason, the brain sometimes will do that. We'll focus on you're the only one who possibly could have been at fault. Could it have been your fault? This child was born this way. Is there something wrong with your blueprints in your brain that caused something to be wrong in your kid? So then, and is it something that's going to come up later on for you? Is it something that's going to come up later on for your kid? There's all kinds of questioning. I can't say for sure. All I know is that it's very possible that when something like that happens, and it's not a common thing, if it was a common thing, if it was something that ran in their family, eh, you know, these are things that the brain can use to say, okay, now it makes sense at least in some way, and so I can detach. Cousin so and so had that, and so did so and so and so and so in our family. So, okay, it hurts to know that that's from our bloodline, but okay. And they lived normal lives and they were fine. So, okay. There's different ways the brain does things. It detaches, good. But if it can't make sense of it, then, like I said, it pulls on that instinctual brain, especially because it involves instinctual things, your own child. It's going to make you question things, including your religion. My guess is, especially with it being a more recent thing as opposed to like something that happened during his childhood. No, something more recent. So there'd be no reason for his brain to shove it to the side. Um, because that's one of the reasons why sometimes people they actually fix their problem, mental problem, they just don't know it. Like me, I almost drowned when I was a little kid, and that got stuck in my head. Throughout the years, I've learned how to swim. I swim fine. I love swimming, but the two were not connected. So forever and a day, my brain still thought I was afraid of drowning, which is why whenever I would get into deep water, I'd freak out. Brain fog. I'd forget how to swim every other step, whatever it was. Even though the problem was actually fixed, I knew how to swim. The bridge or whatever between the childhood and the adulthood, and not there. So that's what I mean by it's something more recent. It's not the past. And because it's something more recent, then there's not like this, oh, an issue happens and we lock it away like we do during childhood most of the time. So instead, it would be something in the forefront, we'll say. Um, so my guess is he's still searching for an answer that it hasn't made sense of it. He's moved on. He's found ways to move on, especially because his daughter probably has moved on. And so he's like, okay, all right, all right. I feel good because you've moved on. I can see it's not affecting you in that negative sense. And yet there's still something in the back of the mind saying, yeah, but what if? But where'd it come from? Now, at some point, it might click in that, oh, wait a minute, it's not just me that has a kid, it's my wife too. It could have come from her bloodline. So that might be also another way to detach from it, to be able to say, not my fault, or maybe not my fault, maybe hers. Since we don't know for sure, we'll just chill now. But the brain is still searching for those answers. And that's why you see him and controlling the conversations and the need. It's need. I need to figure this out. But it's something happening in the back of the brain. I'm sure there's some other little hiccups that are probably happening in his world too. It all depends upon how strong that need really is, as to how many other hiccups, how often they happen, all that kind of stuff. Can't say because I'm not like, a fly on his wall. Don't know anything about his personal life really. Not really pressed about it either. But That's your answer. That's why. Anyway, as far as being able to fix it, I guess there's always a possibility. But again, I don't know all the information. So the answer is very simple. If I'm correct, I could be wrong. But if I'm correct, I believe it was because of his daughter being sick. And then his brain had to turn inward to question why, where, how, when, what is it, what if, what could be. And then, of course, turned in more instinctually inward because of it dealing with his own offspring. That's it. Anyway, gosh, I've been on here for 3 hours, over 3 hours, and I need to eat. I need to get off of here. I gotta get things done. Again, I haven't abandoned you guys. I've just been, I'm here. I'll check in every once in a while, but I'm still just here. What I really need to do is stop worrying about everything else. Detach. Not just roll with, not just let go, but detach from the need to do something with my theory. So that I can focus on the things that do actually need to be done. It's not easy. When you live, breathe, eat, sleep, everything. Heck, I go, not to be graphic and overshare, but I go to the bathroom and I'm sitting there the whole time and these great ideas are coming to me. Why? Because, well, we're not going to go into too much about that, but the idea is that not only are you doing something functional, a correct focus that allows your flow to, the mind to just la correctly as well, but it's an instinctual type functional thing, which makes it even more so la and focus. And it just, there's a power behind it. Things that are in the instinctual brain, there's power behind it. And yes, going to the bathroom is part of that. Yes, sorry, it's just part of the blueprint. I don't know what else to tell you. So anytime we're dealing with certain things, like going to the bathroom, stuff like that, it things coming out of the mind are stronger. That's how it works. Anyway, oh yeah, that was already done. I'm just here. I'll be back at some point. I'm still got to figure this out. I got to contact the White House sometime this week. Because now that the change of office has happened, which is a bummer, because I really wanted to also communicate with Miss Harris. Mrs. Harris. Miss Harris? I don't know. When they're married, but they're not using their married name, are they Mrs.? Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. That's a good question. I didn't tell you about the windshield wiper either. Should have told you about that. Oh well. And there was also that love thing too. Talk about marriage. There's been many people who have made comments about how it's so easy to get married, but it's tough to get divorced. What if you could switch that the other way around? I mean, make them both tough, or I don't know, but definitely switch it. Make marriage more difficult to do. You'd have less people getting into it right away. Because what was it? Something about the want. When you want to get a divorce, it's not you want to, it's you need to. Because you need to get away from the other person. Well, I can't remember what I said the other day. It was really good. But when you want to get married to someone, what was it? Yeah, you go through all those steps to get that divorce, all that hard work to get that divorce because you need it. Well, when it comes to getting married, We just have to want to get married because there's no steps involved. I mean, it can be, but they don't have to be. And all of it is just want anyway. The big wedding, all the la la la, the flowers, the dress, all that stuff is la la la. For as much as it's like, well, there's a functional ceremony mixed in there somewhere buried deep within, it's all a bunch of emotional stuff. Technically, to get married, you just need done. Like there's justice of the peace, right? Oh, there was something I said though. It was really good. I wish I could remember it. Oh well, life goes on. Um, hmm. My windshield wiper. What was it? I was driving the other day. Just oh my goodness, his car, the windshield. It's because his reservoir, the tank is broken. He needs his, washer fluid, but the tank's broken, so he can't. Um, his his windshield is horrible, and it's like, you know, I know my mom's is too. She doesn't wash them. Why should she? She doesn't need to. She can see out of it. We think we can see out of it. Isn't it funny? But I was thinking about it. I thought, you know what? If there was an accident, any good lawyer, whether it was that person's fault or not, any good lawyer sees that windshield and they could turn that around. No, you had the accident because your windshield's dirty. That's why you couldn't see that person stop at that stop sign. Because your windshield's dirty. Because that little spot right there on your windshield is what was blocking out your visual of the stop sign or your visual of that kid or whatever. Oh yeah. Oh yes. So then all of a sudden, yes, I do need to clean my windshield. But do I need to right now, right here, right now? No, because I can still see out of it, right? So technically, it's like the chair. I'm still sitting on the chair. Does it need to be fixed? Yes. But does it need to be fixed? No, because I'm still sitting on it. Same with the windshield. Do I need to get it cleaned? Yes. But could I drive without cleaning it? Yeah. So then, really, the fixing of the chair, the washing of the window, those are actually emotional because until it is the need, it's emotional. It's what if, it's could I, maybe I should, la la. This is one of the reasons children have bathroom accidents. I was thinking about it the other day, and it was because Benji was having some accidents, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I did say something a while back about it, but it just didn't put the two together. Because when is the moment of? Well, it's the same as when are you considered late for work? If you're supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, if you're not there at 9, if you're there at 9:01, that's late. That's it. And when it comes to the bathroom, just like we all have times where we're like, oh, I gotta go. But can I hold it? What if? What if I hold it, right? What if? Fact, I need to go. Well, first of all, is it number one or number two? That's always something to consider. So that's a fact. Can I wait? Yes, I can. But what reason would I be waiting for? Because I've got my video going on. So I don't have to go, but I'm just using this as an example because I've got my video going on and I want to at least finish the video. Well, that makes sense, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk to you like this. I'm still hanging in there, right? I'm still here. Until just can't do it anymore. Well, as we get older, we kind of learn. But the children, being that more raw version of functional emotional, their moment of, what was it? Moment of requirement. isn't until, they don't recognize that moment of requirement until it's actually just slightly past. Because when do you need to go? When it's happening. Other than that, it's all what if. No matter how much you make dancing around still. See how I'm still, but what if I hang on another second? What if I hang on another second? Because the what is right here, right now, even though I need to go, I obviously don't need to go. Because if I can still sit here and go like this, then what if I wait another minute? What if, what if, what if, what if? Right here, right now, right here, right now, right here, right now. Every second that goes by, you can keep saying it. I can still hold it. That's why. Well. Anyway, what else? I think that's it. I don't know what my plans are other than that. I don't know how often I'll be on. I don't know if it's just going to be the videos or if I'm going to still do the live. Because, like I said, I really need to get my dad's computer back to him. And even though I have a computer of my own, I can't handle it. Can't handle being online. And then Benji has one, but I don't want to mess up his computer. I mean, it wouldn't be so big a deal, but there's people in the world that, because they can, will hack you and make your life miserable and put stuff on your computer. And the more, not that anybody watches my videos, but in the event that it ever did happen and people ever did pay attention, the more popular you become, the more people want to mess with you. La, 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 la. It's like identity theft. For as much as it's like, well, I could fix my credit, couldn't I? I could. Why should I? Am I buying a house? Do I plan on ever buying a house? Nope. A car? Nope. But what is right here, right now? I mean, it would be nice, sure, I guess. Maybe one day a car, I suppose, because, my parents aren't going to be around forever. And, sometimes it's nice to be able to say you're responsible and do things on your, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, at the same time, it's also responsible to say I don't really drive often, so it's really not a need. I don't know, just for grins and giggles, wouldn't it be nice to have a good credit, just because if you ever did need it? But then again, I did everything right, but an institution that take care of my money didn't. I shredded everything. I don't know. But if you don't have any credit, then you have no reason for anybody to want your identity. Heck, you taking my identity, it makes mine better. You stealing my identity actually gave me an identity. I'm a person now. Look, I went out and I vacationed on the Riviera and I bought a yacht and I look at all the crazy things that I do. I don't do them. It's not me. Octalever. I went to a store yesterday with my father and I can't remember how it came up. But somehow or another, the store clerk said, "Yeah, I thought he was your boyfriend." Now, my father doesn't look like he's, old and decrepit, like the crypt keeper or anything, but he doesn't look younger. I thought I looked kind of cute yesterday, too. I had my little cowboy hat on and everything. I was hanging out with my dad, we were having fun. And my black skirt on and my cowboy hat, and yeah. Because I said, "Oh, wow." The only way you're saying that is because you think he's younger than he really is. Or I look older than I really am. And he looked at me he's like, "Yeah, that's it." The first one. Which, by the way, just got to throw this out there. The guy at the cash register, the one we talked to first, had difficulty making eye contact with us. But he could look at the screen fine. Want to know why? It's funny. Talking to him, looking at him. There's somebody at the door. Hold on. They're going to want me to go upstairs and get my key, and I don't have. hold your car? Oh, you want something to, okay, I get what you're saying. Well, go say something to her. She's talking to you. And oh, you already have? What? I'm lost. It's not uncommon. The cash register person. Did he need to make eye contact with us? I mean, he kind of blinked here and there to look at us. Nope. Now, that's when we first came in. And we chit chat, and he said it was a hobby store, and he said that they didn't have anybody there on site to look at Benji's train, but he knew a guy that he could give me the number for. Okay, cool. I said, well, you go ahead and write that up, and then we're just gonna go back and look at what you guys do have and stuff in case we would want to do a replacement thing. So my dad and I went around and we started shopping. We were gone for a while. And we came back, and he had less, and he made eye contact more because we had communicated, and now we weren't a new thing. We were now okay. Say sometimes it takes the functional brain just a little bit of time to be able to process something, and then it's fine. This is why sometimes you will tell somebody something, and they'll be like, but if you give them a moment, they're chill. Just needs a little extra time to process, to make sense of it, and then it's cool. Like I was saying about with my mom and the whole, I'll talk to your brother and, about the change of the restaurant thing, it's just giving the brain a little moment to process, a little pause to be able to say, okay, I'm good now. Unfortunately, we live in a world where oftentimes we look at someone and we say something to them now. We need an answer now, right now, instead of being able to say something and just being like, okay. Who was it? I was thinking about the other day. Christopher Walken, and there was a couple other people. But I was listening to someone, and they were talking like more slowly. They would say words, and then they would finish the rest of the words, the rest of the sentence. And I was thinking about it. I thought, that is like, what do you call that? On purpose? I wonder sometimes if people do that because their brain says that's what makes sense to them. So, of course, they're doing it for them. Yes. But also because it's like almost forcing other people to have to do the same thing too. When you say something like, okay, let's see if I can do it. So my cat over there, he is sitting on the buffet. I don't know. It's not really a good example. You say something to somebody, and they say, and then I'll tell you another thing. And they pause. And you're like, okay, tell me. What is it, right? And then they speak. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting hungry and my brain's not working right because I know I had a lot better way of explaining it. And Jerry looks funny because he's like, you saw him, he's a big puffball, right? And now his big puffball body is laid out on the buffet in the sun, and his hair is going fling all around him. He's like a big ray of sunshine. He's not a big ray of sunshine, but his fur makes him look like a big ray of sunshine because it goes fling out from him. It doesn't just lay on his body; it's out from him. He's part of the reason why, though, is because of the grass he's laying on. It's that train grass. It's kind of scratchy. Yeah, funny kitty. Anyway, I don't remember what I was saying. Something about the whole functional, talking slower, making other people do so, because that's what makes sense to them. I do notice something else about like the old TV shows, Leave It to Beaver, just for an example. Carol O'Connor. in the heat of the night, watching him, listening to him. He's not going da 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 da. He's going, well, I'll tell you. I think there's something to look into there. And you're like, it took you 20 seconds to say something that takes me 2 seconds to say. Well, I'll tell you, there's something to look into there. But well, I'll tell you. And then sit back in his chair. I think there's something to look into there. But the funny thing is, there is definitely emphasis added by doing that. There's a clarity too. Like even when I just said it, yeah, I said it fast, but is it clear? That's another thing that's messing with our brains. I don't think we realize that. Just because we have the ability to look, move, do, watch things fast does not necessarily mean and should be able to, does not necessarily mean we should always be doing that. No. Same as squinting. There's a time and a place for doing the squinting, the focusing. Oh, I gotta look at that a little clearer. Let me take a, you know, okay. But if my eyes were like that all day long, how much of a headache and how much of all that stuff would that be for me? No good. So there's time and a place. And that said, there's a time and a place for eating too. And I have definitely surpassed it. Anyway, I didn't even look at the messages. Whoops. I was going to look at the messages and I forgot. Oh well. Life goes on. Well, in closing, no, I'm not doing the pause thing. My brain can't think. Are you pausing for emphasis? Nope, just can't think. Um, hmm. Yeah, my brain's really starting to kick me. I can tell. It's saying, no, we don't need to talk anymore. We need to eat. What's more important? What's the stronger fact? Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Fuck the lever. What is it? My brain, it's also running through everything that I said, little bits here and there. You forgot this, you forgot that. Like I forgot to mention the thing about Trump. At the same time, I was saying the thing about Paris. Oh, yeah, because I was questioning the whole, if the guy she married isn't named Harris, so she didn't take his name. So is she a Ms. Harris or Mrs. Harris? I mean, I know there's probably people that be yelling at me saying just because a girl gets married doesn't mean she has to take her husband's name. He can take her name. Well, that's true. I've seen that. But no, I wasn't saying it like that. I was just simply saying that, like, the reason you become from Miss to a Mrs. is because of getting married. Then again, there's also the Ms., which can be for anyone. I am really getting hungry, I think. My brain is really, I'm ready for a nap. Ooh, that's not good. Oh, it's not good. But I think that's what's going to end up happening. Bummer. Well, it wasn't a total waste. At least I got this done today. Of course, I didn't get the messages done, but I could probably do that on my phone later if I get a chance. Ah, I still have to make that doctor's appointment. No, I don't have to make a doctor's appointment. It's made. I'm not looking forward to this one, peeps. They're going to tell me something I don't want to hear. ah, make or break you. Anyway, all right, well, I'm heading out of here. Nope, still not pausing for emphasis. My brain's just running through. Well, you didn't forget this, you didn't forget that. Yeah, I did, sure. I forgot everything. I'm gonna put that on because I can put that in the comments then, so then people know. Well, I should have put, because I also said that's when I said my hellos instead in the very beginning. Hold on, let me put that in there. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, tired, and I've been touching my hair way too much. It's so well. I mean, it should be dirty by now, but it wasn't this morning. Can you tell I've been messing with it? Well, for the funeral, I used my meaningful beauty, which I don't know how long ago it was I got it. I don't use it often. I don't go anywhere. Why should I have pretty hair? Although I really like having my hair nice looking. Makes me feel better. My skin, eh. Except for now recently, because especially with Benji going through the dry skin thing, it's all cracked and bleeding. Poor fella. Oh, poor fella. So I'm kind of paying more attention to it now. Getting not just lotion on him, but me too, because I guess I get dry skin sometimes too. Oh well. It all started with the stupid hair. All because the hair had to look nice. It looked really pretty. Why I put it up in a clip, I don't know why. At the funeral, I had it up in a clip. I should have had it down. It looks really pretty. Even the next day. I didn't wash it. Still my meaningful beauty stuff. It really does. I don't know. Maybe it looked really good just because anytime you switch up your shampoo and conditioner stuff and change to another brand or whatever, I've heard that every once in a while you're supposed to switch it to something else, and then you can go back to the other one because it's like your hair gets used to it, and then it's like, I'm used to this. I need something new. But some people's hair isn't like that. I wonder why. Oh yes, believe it or not, I do believe our things like hair is affected by the fact that we're functional or emotional. I remember a while back I wasn't dating this person, but I was kind of talking to him, and I lost weight without trying, all just because. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was exercising, but not really. No more than I had been, but all of a sudden I was losing weight. It does affect us, and all I have to do is think about losing weight, and I can sometimes just do it. Not always. It has to be something that makes sense to my brain at that time to be able to do it. But sometimes, yeah. Anyway, that's it. Whether it's it or not, it's it. I don't care. Because now we're going into almost 4 hours. Jeez. I know I was going to make this a regular video. Oh my goodness. But I made it a live video because I figured, if it's live, no one's going to pay attention to it. Because, I'll talk for hours. That's awful. Anyway, okay, I got to go. No, it was the other thing. What was I going to say? Oh. 50. Wait, I'm typing, but it's not showing. There we go. Oh, boy. I'm cold, too. Oh, my God. Eaten. Ooh, pardon. Yawn. Okay, um, pay to. I mean, I know it was something around that I said it, so I'll just do that. Okay. And I'll just put that in the description. Okay, I have got end stream. All right. So, I want to try one little thing real quick here. Oh my goodness, my screen is getting smaller and smaller. I wouldn't have to look at myself. I mean, it's part of the issue I have sometimes. Because then I'm online. And you can see me. Scary. All right, so let's pull that down. All right, end stream. Bio. Oh, shoot. I forgot. Pushes that button. There we go.